philosophy memes. We made good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We made good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Xirtus, decay, my boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts, etc. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else from Great Memes.
Cool. You ever notice how like all the white supremacists on Twitter are basically just like, like inferior gened, inbred little peened virgin incels who idolize Israel for being like a better Reich than they could ever be? Is it just me? I don't know. But good to see you guys. How are you? What's up?
Hey guys, good to see you guys. Kurt, it's been a while, my friend. Good to see you. It's been quite a while. But
we are verbally speaking now. We're stepping up our game. Who knows what will happen next time? How we will communicate.
I'm glad.
So you guys did do a show together, or you've done like multiple? You guys have gone on dates
together. We've done the three of us. Actually, you've been there. You've been there for some of the shows.
Was this on MK Canada? Was that how this worked? Was Kurt on
Most
MK
of them,
Canada?
I believe. Yep. And then he came on Divulgence once as well. So
now I remember. That's true. Okay, that all tracks. It all makes sense. And you came on Divulgence, and you guys watched a movie together. You like did a stream of
we
about
watched
JFK
together. Yeah.
That's legit. So what do you think about JFK? Is he for real?
I don't know.
I think he was a real historical character. The movie did a great job at convincing me that
I'm still not convinced he's real, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it turns out the history books might be correct in saying that JFK was a president.
You do think he existed?
I think he existed. Yes, I'm a JFK believer.
I have this friend from the Czech Republic. He's this Jewish kid whose family had their like mansion taken from them when the like World War II happened because the Nazis came in or whatever. And he's convinced that Hitler didn't exist. He's a smart guy. He went to college. He knows a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And despite all that, he still thinks that like Hitler was like an actor or like 3 or 4 actors, like some sort of a like Shakespeare, like a completely made up thing that was just kind of a for the purpose of, like Zionism, basically. Like to just get all the money out of Germany and bring it to the Middle East and build in Palestine like a new Zionist state, according to like the British and, I think like Churchill was involved or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised the same way with Kennedy. Like how real is Kennedy? Like his assassination pictures on X don't seem super real. The most real thing about him is a movie by Oliver Stone. Like that seems kind of crazy, right?
I never saw the Oliver Stone film.
Dude, I don't know. Could be.
I'm sorry.
Brutal. Well, how you been? What's up, Chris? What have you been up to?
Actually, I was literally just on a binge of like British World War II kind of films that take place in World War II about particularly British intelligence, and like the formation of the Special Air Service and MI5, I think.
Dude, I like. Which one did you see? Like the League of like Gentlemen or something?
Yeah. I saw the bro ones, which is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and then I was watching like the show Rogue Heroes, just some just British bro dudes rock shit, you know?
Was that the Henry Cavill one?
Yeah, yeah.
How was that? That one looks pretty wild.
I liked it better than Inglourious Bastard, to be honest.
For sure. The Ungentlemanly Warfare is Guy Ritchie's movie.
I was
And,
gonna say
like,
that's
you know,
Guy Ritchie, right? Yeah.
he does all the Kabbalah stuff. And his whole thing with that movie, kind of, to me, I feel like Inglourious Bastards, it kind of shows you how the good guys are insane and like psychotic and like kind of evil, like, and you know the bad guys are
Yes, there's
not.
no
Yeah, they're not like good guys, but they're not like
You remember in the
wicked
beginning?
monsters. Yeah.
In the beginning of that movie, remember when the bear Jew was like beating that Nazi officer's
Totally.
brains in? Someone screenshotted that guy and they were like, "This is the only decent person in the whole movie. Like everyone else is just a piece of shit."
Yeah, I mean, arguably they're all pieces of shit. That's like the whole point of that movie. But I felt like with the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, they make the point that like all British people are sociopaths who were like not breastfed as children. You know, like the whole British Empire are just sickly, insane. You know, either psychopaths or sociopaths. They're all liars. They're all cheats. They're all crooks. They're all manipulative monsters. Basically, everything you were taught that the Reich was, you know, the Reich at least have some multidimensionality to them ever since you saw that movie, The Book Thief. You know, there's plenty of Germans that weren't like going with the flow or felt like they had to go with the flow, but had different feelings. And, you know, German people burn books. Don't get me wrong. Like there's something wrong with some of these. I mean, again, as I said, I started out because I've been going through these like X chats and you see all these like white nationalists and everything.
Yeah,
and they're almost all like, they're always all like these like little Irish dudes that are or Greeks, you know, and it's like, dude, like you would have been the like first, they would have pushed you into the oven. You kidding me? And you would have fit.
What's even crazier is that in those schizo Twitter chats, like there's a lot of Jews in them too, and it's almost like they need to be hated. Like they need that environment. Like they need to be immersed amongst the white supremacists in the group chat, so they could like talk all day about how I'm so hated, but we're so civilized, and it's crazy. It's insanity.
Totally. Yeah, and then but
sure,
they don't make themselves look like nobody makes themselves look very good in these group chats. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the white supremacists are not sending their best. That's all I'm. But like the League of Ungentlemanly Warfare, dude, they're stealing a boat and they have complete control over the world because you know what? At this point, you know about the Turing machine, you know about the MI6 and MI5, you know about the Signal Corps, you know about their control of radio. Basically, they control everything, everywhere. The Jews speak Yiddish, so they all speak German. Even like the New Yorker spy lady speaks German. And so they're manipulating everything from all angles. And it's like a no contest because it's like a cheated video game where you have a hat.
Well, that's one of the parts I really liked about it. Like Ministry of Gentlemanly Warfare was good, but it was just a movie, and I wanted more of that shit. So I started watching Rogue Heroes seasons 1 and 2. And what really interested me was that the Germans were just too good at conventional warfare. Like they were just steamrolling everyone. So the British Empire and everyone adjacent had to resort to like fighting really dirty. You know, because they were just they were like, yo, we're just gonna like break all the rules and fuck you over in like the most insidious ways.
You know, I've also noticed that there's a lot of censor tools now too that are making it impossible to research these points, which is weird to me because I feel like 10 years ago you had slightly more free speech even on some of these subjects, and everyone's saying, maybe even like a couple of years ago, X, you could say whatever you wanted to on X. But now if you start to bring up these subjects, you basically are getting further pushed into these little group chats because you can't publicly do it. And then the group chats are just like honeypots then. They're just straight up honeypots because clearly they're not made up of and you have no idea there's like hundreds of people in them. And like you said, a lot of them are Zionists or they're maybe like fake anti-Zionists. So the whole thing is designed to like scrape data on autistic incels so that they can, you know, manipulate and provoke people into responding so they have records of you responding. It's Epstein-y in a way, you know, just trying to record you doing something you wish you never regret you ever did. Which is kind of like that movie.
Well, I mean, I think what also it's like now that a layman, for example, I always like say like I'm the layman, I'm the idiot, okay, whatever. I'm kind of new to all the metaphysics and conspiracy theories. But if like everyone kind of gets this idea in their head where it's like, well, a moron could set up a honeypot. You know, you could just put a person in a compromising situation, take pictures of them or get evidence and tell them, it's like, you do what I say or I'm going to ruin your fucking life. I mean, maybe you won't face legal repercussion because that's like entrapment, but everyone will still see you as the guy who is like the creep or whatever.
So check this out. Here's an example. So I just opened up Grok. Make an inflammatory troll post about how you ever noticed that white supremacists are inferior gene inbred little peen virgin incels who idolize Israel for being way better right than they could ever be Irish scum, right? And it says, I'm sorry, I don't create or promote inflammatory posts. And the reason being is because it wasn't worded in such a way that it knew it was anti-white supremacist off the go. So I moved it to make an inflammatory troll post mocking white supremacists, comma. So now it analyzed this, thought about it, and it was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Ever notice how so-called white supremacy? It's like really interesting because you can not say that if it's pro white nationalists. Obviously, there's going to be programming in there that says, "Oh, I would never do this for any reason at all, for any," and then you turn it up backwards. It's like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's make fun of the white supremacists," which is fair because they suck. But at the same time, it just shows you how rigged the game is. The game is totally rigged. You know, like that's insane that's something that can work like that.
I think one mistake that white supremacists are making is they're kind of like distancing themselves from just the American identity. Like, I'm not really a white supremacist. I'm an American supremacist. You know, it's like once you lose that, then you're like, ugh.
It made hashtags. Hashtag troll the Nazis. Hashtag incel Reich fail. Like, it's, dude, it's straight up the ultimate. Let's read this. Ever notice how these so-called, quote, white supremacists are just a bunch of inferior gene, inbred, little peen virgin incels who can't even build a proper empire? They sit around idolizing Israel like it's superior Reich that they could never pull off themselves. The ultimate cuck move. I didn't say cuck move. They said cuck move. From these potato-munching Irish scum. Grok literally said this. Potato-munching Irish scum. I didn't say that.
That's racist.
Grok, who peaked at leprechaun myths and famine memes.
Pathetic.
Dude, I'm just saying, this is wild. This is wild that you can do this. I can't even. I'm kind of shocked, like, to be fair, because the first answer was the most obviously correct. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't get involved with your weird race.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now it's like, oh no, that's cool. I love it. Let me get involved and let me make some hashtags.
It's clearly a farce. It's like when you see so and so running for president, and then suddenly you look on Netflix and you see like a lot of shows about like women in empowering places or men being like oppressive douchebags. So it's like it's kind of like that. It's just reflecting off the Overton window, probably, but just inversing the image.
Dude, it's crazy. And you just said something important a minute ago. You said that they're embracing American nationalism, or they're letting go of American nationalism.
I think they're letting go of it, and like that's kind of like that's going to lose a lot of juice or steam.
A lot of Jews, a lot of. I'm sorry. So there was something. They got to be very careful with that one, yeah, because like Jews from concentrate is like a whole. There's a whole thing there. Did you watch the Superman movie? Have you seen it? Did you hear about it? You know,
I've not yet.
I heard it was really good.
Yeah, everybody likes it. So I made the point that Superman is pre-Zionist Jewish, obviously. Ubermensch, not blonde. His last name is freaking El, like Elohim. You know, he's the Adonai Elohim. He's the sons of the gods. You know, it's very clear.
He's basically David, King David.
Al-El, Jor-El, descendant of the King David, for sure. But they don't have a Krypton anymore. They've lost Israel, right? Like, oh, our Wailing Wall kind of a vibe. Mm-hmm. And so he's lost everything, and he's come to America. And that's what America was like 100 years ago. There were tons of Jews in New York City who were proud to be, you know, free. They're proud to be American, because in America, you weren't going to get your house like burned down, hopefully, ever again. That was kind of the vibe. We're going to work hard on not having pogroms in America. Did that work? Obviously not. I mean, like, we've got plenty of pogroms in America. And like burn crosses on lawns, and there's a lot of problems. I'm just saying.
As a person that didn't see this movie probably yet, I just want to know, like, I think about like what makes this superhero slop more palatable than the ones that come before it. And I'm getting the sense that it's just more white pilled. It's like it's leaning less on socio-political narratives and just straight up white pill shit, which is what I've been on. So I like it, you know.
Well, so I'm glad you asked, and I would say it's more Goyim pilled or America pilled, because The problem with Superman in today's world, and we knew this as of 5 years ago, is we're not living in a pre-Zionist world anymore. We're living in a post-Zionist world. There's a world now where there is an Israel, there is a new Krypton, there is a place to go home to, and you can continue to have these values. And those values are really constrained by convictions and from circumstances, because we've had Superman, if he isn't afraid of green rocks, a good friend of mine who's on this show, he's from Israel, he's a Mizrahi Jew. Like, they didn't have enough money for plastic bags, like they were just kind of like poor people. The Arab, Asiatic Jews, really, like in China and Afghanistan, everything like that, they were like poor in poor places kind of thing. And it's funny how poor a lot of these Jews are. I thought you were wearing a yarmulke for a second there, like a little kibbeh on your little pink head. I was like, that's amazing. Canadian yarmulke. No, it's just. But Jews love baseball, so that works too, because of the diamond and the Kabbalah. So
actually, I think Jews are more about basketball. To be honest, I don't know why.
Maybe these days. I mean, baseball is a very Jewish sport, right? It has 18 and the numbers, and it's it's very. It's
trying to reduce the delta.
I mean, yeah, you can be good at it if you're good at math, kind of like pool. All right, but they built Israel, and now you've got Jews who were not allowed to be, like following their law for a long time, became Talmudic. If you got kicked out of Israel and you went to Babylon, in Babylon you mix with the Chaldean, the elite in certain classes, there's certain Talmudic schools of thought that emerge, kind of the way like Islam. Islam was pretty chill for a minute when it was the odd man out. Once the Persian Empire fell and Islam kind of inherited Persia, they became a military dictatorship, and they sucked as much as Christianity. I mean, Christianity was pretty bad. Christianity was cool when they were living in sewers with gypsies, but as soon as they were the religion of the state control and they started killing anybody who sinned, which is everybody, that you don't like, you can burn people at the stake, burn women for making beer, and you can throw people into gladiator rings. Christianity sucked. Judaism sucked. Islam sucked. Basically, any organized religion, once it becomes the state, like religious states suck. I don't know if it's like too Masonic of a concept, but that's the America pill right there. Separation of church and state is probably better than having some sort of like weird religious state. And we look at this now, people are criticizing Israel. That was, I think, a big thing that people were pseudo aware of about the Superman movie. They're like, what's going to happen with the Jewish Ubermensch movie? Is it going to promote Zion or not? And spoiler alert, it doesn't. I don't know, like, you should see it, and I don't want to ruin it for you. And I'm pretty sure whatever I'm interested in doesn't actually, like, isn't the movie to normal people, but the part of the movie, like the little thing in there that I saw that seems important.
No, I know what you're talking about. I do the same thing with like Black Panther, how like it's a great movie because it's about a neoconservative monarch backed by a white CIA agent destroying Black Lives Matter. Like that's what that movie was actually about. Like,
you didn't ruin the movie just now. You just made it better for people who weren't going to notice it. You know, exactly.
I said it's one of those movies that like a really stupid liberal and a really smart racist would be really into.
Right. Israel, Isis Ra Elohim is the least she's placed for Khazarians. Yeah, but Khazarians from Georgia. See, that's the whole thing with the administration class. And then when they look for the genes and they're confused because certain noble classes don't breed with the commoners. What were you saying, Chris? Sorry.
But back to what you were saying about how like we don't want like a quasi-religious dominated state. I think like a good example, because the inverse could be true too. If you go too far the other way, it could still be really bad. Like in China, you know, it used to be a warrior culture, and that was like their religion almost.
Yeah,
with,
true.
Like, with like martial arts and all that shit. And then like, you ever see those wuxia films where it's like the martial artist would divorce himself purposely from politics? He'd be like, nah. I don't want to get involved in the emperor's affairs. And I thought that's always an interesting trope. Like when the mystics and the warriors and the people who exist like outside on the boundaries, they're like, fuck politics. I cannot be involved with that bitch.
Why is Superman not running for senator or something? Because obviously, if you're like, he's an American boy, like he could run for senator. If he's a really good, he probably knows so much more than anyone else. You could avoid the Patriot Act because he can read minds and see through walls, and you'd have, you know, he could literally stop crime because he has this altruistic American boy quality where he would only do that to criminals. Of course, he's not looking at Lois Lane in the shower for whatever reason. They make him that kind of guy. But the way they present...
It's because of his mom and pa. It's because of...
exactly.
Yeah.
His adopted, Goyim, Christian, middle America parents. And that's the point of the movie to me. Because if you watch the original Superman in the 70s, they show you when the crash landing baby ends up in the space pod, and his parents adopt him. They find this naked baby, and he's a toddler, and you see his penis,
And they
like
circumcised.
straight up. It's circumcised. There's no reason in a 1970s movie to show basically child pornography to do that. But they're
They have
showing
to use
you
laser vision and Krypton to circumcise their babies.
they want you to think about how hard it would be. Yeah, like they have to have some sort of Krypton moil, but
Yeah.
they're showing you because they want you to know, which is crazy that they want you to know even from the get-go that he's a Jewish boy being raised by Goyim parents. And in the new movie, what happens is he doesn't get the entire message. He has this inspiration of the message from his Kal-El, from Jor-El. His father sends this tape with him, that tells you like, hey, you're gonna have to, and then you'll save Earth, and for the human race. And he's like, okay, that's great. I've got this awesome mythological legacy,
Destiny. Yeah.
and I gotta fill in the blanks myself. And I'm filling it in from my Goyim parents, teaching me about American values, and they're teaching me about being an honorable, decent, Masonic human being who respects American values, right? That's basically what his parents do. That is the difference between him being raised on Krypton. Because remember, these other dudes on Krypton, they're trapped in like vinyl records in space. They're like, like the bad guys. They're not good people. They're terrible people. They're wearing Saturnian black robes, and they're coming on in there trying to conquer humanity, right? Well, so in this movie, Superman finally gets the full message. He's all grown up, and everyone hears it. And it says, you're going to conquer the earth, and you're going to mate with all of the human women, and you're going to have a harem, and you're going to feed our race on this planet, and the Ubermensch will rise again, and they're going to take over this planet.
Like Invincible.
Because these inferior Untermensch humans on Earth, these Earthlings, these weak, you will stomp them out and you will replace them. And their women, with you're going to create this entire new legacy of Ubermensch, of Kryptonians, right? Which is like super screwed up, but also very Talmudic, isn't it? It's this idea that if you're kicked out, if you're pushed into Babylon, if you're going to have to build your new world, you're going to go do this thing that's completely unacceptable to the culture you're in. But the culture you're in, they're not God's chosen people. They're not the God's chosen master race, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's totally cool to do this. And that's becomes Superman's conundrum in the movie. Does he choose to follow his now learned Zionist agenda, Talmudic would say agenda, or does he follow his Masonic Goyim parents' lessons that they raised him on? And does he do what the American thing is? And in this economy and ideology, this particular political climate, obviously, like we've been seeing the way the world's treating Israel right now. So it's very clearly pointed against Israel, the way they made the new Superman movie, and saying the American Jew is the ideal, maybe not superior, but the ideal Jew.
This is a very spicy interpretation, man. I'm just listening to the shit. I'm like, oh, okay.
And Ivan says I sound anti-Semitic, which is really funny because last episode I did, everyone was pissed about how I sounded so pro-Jewish. They're all like, "Dude, this guy is such an apologist for the Chabad tunnel system." Like, I mean, yeah. If you take me out of any piece of context, you're gonna get super upset. But no, I'm clearly not. I mean, if that wasn't clear.
I used to be a little more anti-Semitic, much less so these days.
I mean, I think it's easier to hate people you don't know, and the more you know people, like the more you start to like them.
I was more like on that like edgy,
or vice versa.
That edgy alt-right heavily stereotyping kind of like memeplex, and I don't know, that got really old, I guess, after I was more into like, girly shit, like spirituality.
Clearly for the genocide. Okay, really good. Yeah, I mean. Did you start the beginning of the episode where I complained about white supremacists? You need to watch like every verse of this to get through the chapter kind of thing. Because I'm pretty sure I made fun of everybody equally. I just wait your turn. I'll make fun of you next. I'm just saying though, So people are stupid, persons are smart a lot of the time. So the white supremacist groups are stupid. They're like almost all so embarrassingly stupid that even if you thought you liked any of, like, 'cause you can sympathize with somebody from the Midwest who feels like their whole town is being, like population replaced or
that's
something like
what we'll
that.
call it. Sure, let's put it
Until
that way.
you interact with them, and then you're like, oh my God, you're so pathetic. No wonder your girlfriend left you for a black guy. Like, come on, bro. Like, get your act together. Do something other than play video games all day. Quit smoking pot. Like, do anything with your life, and maybe your peen will grow, or at least your ego enough that it won't
Clean your
matter.
penis. You have to clean your
Clean
penis.
your penis, and I think that's really the Jordan Peterson
Wash your
philosophy.
penis. Yeah, wash your penis.
Wash your penis. Clean your penis. I think that should be on more t-shirts.
Did Jordan Peterson say that? Clean your penis?
Sorta. He said clean your room, but really I think it was like
Wash your penis.
He was saying like you don't have to cut it off. You don't even have to cut part of it off. You just have to wash it,
Yeah. Well, I think even when it comes to like political affiliation, I don't know where I heard this, but I think that they're oddly correct.
Where the F are you, Vincent? Get the hell in here.
It's more satisfying to make fun of mentally sane people than it is to make fun of mentally ill people. Like, it's more fun to fuck with normal people.
Yeah, that's true. I think, but I feel bad about it every time because, like, at a certain point, you're like, wow, I'm like intellectually bullying, and I don't want to be. That's not what I'm trying to do either.
Yeah, that's true.
Travis says, no, just kidding. Travis says the Bible says Judeans and Israelites are different people. The Bible has been highly edited, though. Yeah, shout out Vincent for sure, bro, for sure. Second Kings 22 to 23. That's the one I keep going to. This is the one where you find out King Josiah is like 8 years old. Okay, so it's like Anakin Skywalker aged king, and he's got these Deuteronomist dudes who are in charge of him, and they wrote the Bible. I mean, like, there was already tons of Tanakh, and there was some scripture out there, and then they just cut it up. They cut it up like your dick, and they ended up putting together this fake version of the Bible about just before the fall of the Second Temple, where they all get sent to Babylon. But they're like, basically, there's 12 tribes, and the 12 tribes are different kinds of Jews, and then all of a sudden, the Cohenot priesthood and the Deuteronomists, they kill all of the different like priests and leaders and parents and like women who do stuff, like any woman teachers, like any woman priestesses, because like there weren't just rabbis, there were female priestesses at this point. And then they say, okay, well, the high priests, second order keepers of the temple, bring out forth the temples of the Lord and vassals, and then that were made for Baal, right? And Baal, they're just mistranslating here, but this is how you can tell history is written by the winners. They're just like, oh yeah, well, these guys, they were worshiping the wrong version of God, and so we didn't like it. It wasn't the way we think it should be. And they had a singular vision for the Abrahamic tradition. So this is where they say, okay, you're not even allowed to talk about Canaanite traditions. Like Abraham was a son of Tarek, and his father was going to sacrifice him, right? And then he throws Abraham into a cave so that he can not get sacrificed. That's why Abraham is raised in a cave, which you hear more about in 190 AD, like 200 years before Jesus, is when they start talking about Abraham being raised in a cave. It's Plato's cave, So it's really this Hellenistic mystery school tradition that takes over. But 600 BC, 400 years earlier, they say they put down the idolatrous priests, and they kill all the temples, they burn down all the temples and everything like that. And the only temple allowed after that is the Kingdom of Judea temple. So all the other states, all the other tribes, like the Reubens and whatever, like they're not allowed to worship their way anymore, basically. And they have to go through the Cohenot priesthood after that point, who then can take a tax. Because it's like, okay, you need to pay us a goat if you want us to do like the chicken sacrifice. We're going to cut chickens' heads off over all your kids so that they're sin-free, And you guys have to do exactly what we say. But that all happens in 2 Kings 23. And that's where you see like how much of the Bible is just chop, 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 remixed and everything else. But then,
Then we know Jesus comes in and is like, yo, you guys are all fucking wrong.
Which is what blows my mind, because like the big thing I've been arguing about recently are these freaking the Orthodox Christians, dude. Because the Orthodox Christians are basically Goyim Sadducee. where's my picture I put up for today? This is the mock meme of like
Cry harder, orthodox.
Cry harder orthodoxy, because this is what they all look like. They're all just like NPC crying.
It looks
sad.
strong though.
Dude, some of them are, I think I given a little too much credit. Maybe I gotta believe some of the Orthodox work out, right? Because like they're all incels. So, and that's good. I think you should be trying to like do more with yourself. But generally, they're dressed like Sadducees, and they're dressed like the exact people that Jesus was like trying to stop people from becoming, who killed him, and they're super stoked that Jesus was murdered. Because that means that they can sin, like they can like do whatever, because sinning is cool now again, and they're just following in. So it's just crazy because it seems like nothing's changed. It's just they're just wearing this Jesus Che Guevara T-shirt. It's a total bummer, bro. I don't know.
I like those depictions of Jesus and his apostles where they have this like yellow kind of glow or shine about their heads, and I think that's like a kind of almost similar state of being in like a state of enlightenment. You cleared all your chakra gates, and then the energy just flows between you and the divine freely. The connection is strong, so you get that yellow ball of aura around you. I've always liked that in the Renaissance era paintings and stuff.
Yeah, it's true. I do like that as well.
So basically, what I'm saying is, if you're really abiding by the real shit, then you don't have to prove with like rational argument. Like you literally are walking proof. Like who's going to argue with that? It's like, okay, so all I have to do is stick around this guy, watch how he lives, and then you find him in compromising situations. Does he sacrifice his integrity? Yes or no? No. Why not? Oh, because God wouldn't want me to. Well, there you go. That's it. Simple as,
Too much fence sitting. Is this fence? Like, how am I fence sitting? Can't I just hate everybody equally? Whatever happened to criticizing everybody because everybody sucks? Why do I have to pretend that there's like some perfect person who isn't bothering me? Why do I have to pretend that people don't irritate me? I literally hate everybody now. I'm getting old. I hate everybody. I'm so pissed. I mean,
this is This is the best content. This is when you're in your best form, I think, on stream.
I'm sorry. I like you. I like memory, man. I'm just saying, like, it's hard for me not to like be. You're ignoring the genocide. How am I ignoring the genocide? What do you want me to say about the genocide? Do you want to talk about genocide?
He wants you to stop the genocide, man. He wants you to use your infinite power and resources.
What am I supposed to do for you, Ivan? Can you get a broom? Like, what do you want me to do? It sucks. Okay. Like what? Like, what solves genocide? Are you talking about white genocide? Maybe like be like the Mormons and the Muslims and try to outbreed each other. Crazy idea. Yeah. If you had 13 kids like the Amish people I like that Kurt's sitting here quietly, because you know what Kurt does? Kurt looks for women to love, and he's gonna have like a 13-kid family, because he's from the Mennonite village. He's where the Amish are at. He knows what's up. Hey, you know who has lots of kids and who's solving the genocide problem? Yeah, that's right, Andrew Vega. How do you feel now, white supremacists? Eat your heart out.
You know what I think will fix the genocide? If everyone just practices more gratitude. I swear, I'm telling you, it might really stop genocide.
Tonight's show is brought to you by gratitude. What's up, Andrew? What are you up to?
I just got off work, kind of. The AC is super loud, so I'm just going to listen for a bit.
No, it's cool. We've just been complaining. I mean, I've just been complaining. I think everyone's just kind of confused why I'm in such a complaining mood, I guess. I got off of like this weird trolley, like alt-right, white supremacist, honeypot sort of chat group on Twitter. And I was just like, Jesus.
I think I'm in that chat group. I
think I added you to it because I was like, dude, you need to see this.
Yeah,
this is insane.
But when you added me to that, I was like, it could have been any of my friends, because like, I mean, I'm not saying I immerse myself in those environments nowadays, but I used to. So it's like, it's just this, I know what this is. Like,
dude, they were all pissed off about Vivek Ramaswamy, so I added Vivek Ramaswamy to the group. They were just to me, that was fun. That was one of my favorite moments of the whole thing.
I mean, to be honest, like, okay, I don't know if you've heard of Dime Square. It's like where all the alt-right, alt-lit people would hang out in Manhattan. So that's where, a lot of my friends hang out. And I think those are the social groups I would most like to infiltrate, so I could inseminate them with this idea that everyone is just the same soul living out different lifetimes in different bodies. Some of them, like when I talk to them about that shit, they're like, yeah, you seem really cool. I never considered that. Other people are just like, no, no, fuck them, fuck the Jews, fuck the blacks, fuck the whatever, you know. And I'm like, okay,
Google
whatever,
the
I
people
tried.
my girlfriend's interested in, right? Yeah, Andrew,
You're one of the
I
good
li-
ones though. Like,
you're different. That's like I hear that a lot as an American. You know, for an American,
yeah.
it's like you read books or something. All right, Kurt's been sitting there just completely silent, and I paid good money for him to be here, so.
Gonna go right to an upgrade of my webcam, so you don't have to stare at my track shorts anymore.
I like your track
Oh,
shorts,
I was
bro.
digging those track shorts.
Yeah,
I know these are the money makers. That is for sure.
That's
But
what he paid for.
But I don't know. Maybe some degree of professionalism will really make this podcast take off. I'm not entirely
bro.
sure.
If there's a white supreme de la creme, it's Kurt's leggings. Come on, look at those thighs. Look at them.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Been doing some extra keto this week.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. So my favorite conspiracy this week. So, all right. Everyone's talking about the Epstein files, right? And
Yeah.
well, I almost hate bringing up any political topic because like all of it can just get. I mean, everything just gets washed away in the end, right?
Nah, man, you
No.
can't just sweep it under the rug. That's
No,
your
no,
Well,
no.
I mean,
I don't
you literally can. I mean, I just wanted. I have to already interrupt again. I'm a bastard, but I posted this literally earlier today. I said Epstein list disappears just as Bohemian Grove cremation of care summer 2025 began, and you're still wondering what happened. You know. All right, back to you, Kurt.
So yeah, I think so. If Trump really wanted to, if the end goal was just to make the conversation go away, I think they wouldn't comment on the Epstein files like indefinitely. I think Trump is purposefully antagonizing his base because that's what the CIA wants him to do. That's like what my conspiracy theory is. It's like, what is the net benefit of antagonizing your voting base? Well, there isn't that much incentive to please his voting base at this point because it's his second term, and realistically he's not going to run for a third term. Some people like to make
He
media
did run
stories
for her
about
term. This is his third term. Isn't that the point? Like this is the third. Okay, keep going.
Sure. But I think the main one thing that might not be paid attention to is like, what are the true consequences of living in a post-truth society? I think the consequences of a post-truth era are actually a little bit more dire than I think a lot of people are acknowledging. So it's like, at what level do we hold the value of actually thinking that there's truth out there? That really does connect back to the whole death of God thing, death of a community, any sort of communal connection that we have with each other. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would be wise to to kind of challenge the idea of post-truth, generally speaking. Not that we need to rage in the streets. I don't think that actually accomplishes anything. But it's like, I think you really need to evaluate things on an honest level, and I think that's the direction where things are going. I think it's really the post-truth agenda kind of poking its head through, and of course it's wise to be skeptical of all that, but you can always. I think the nice part about living in not very concentrated areas is that there's always kind of a way to sidestep that, especially if you stay off of like social media and stuff, which is one thing I'm increasingly doing. That I haven't been here in like 2 months. It's like nice to see you all, but
feels like eternity without you, babe.
I always tell my friends about you guys, though. I say we have great conversations. It's always fun. We argue with each other about who's going to get clipped by the CIA first. None of us know, but it's fun. It's fun to discuss. We each have a pool. It's our own weird. It's a CIA Deadpool that we have going on with each other. But it's how we make light of everything that's going on, right?
Or Mossad these days.
MI5. Can't forget about those guys.
Dude, for sure.
FSB.
I mean, I've been pissing them off with the Orthodox thing. God. Okay.
The only people. Sorry, what were you saying?
No. If Chris, go ahead.
I said the only agency I know I antagonized was the FBI for social media antics, but that was just once, and they never followed up with that. But I'm definitely on some kind of list, probably.
Dude, I feel like I can have like the CIA, the FSB, Mossad, and the Chinese PRC, secret police.
Oh yeah, they must love you, dude.
They're all in a fight with each other, and then they turn and look like Agent Smith at me. They're just all at the same time. They're like, let's just truce for a second and get him. Go ahead, Kurt.
Well, I think that was really the main topic of, actual news that people like want to adhere to. I think everyone else,
it's the common denominator.
Yeah, people.
It's funny because Trump acted like no one cared. It's like, actually, that's like the only thing we all care about. You got Democrats wanting that to be solved at this point. Vega, you got something to say? You're muted. Were you saying something or no?
Sorry, I was just my coworker was like, "Hey, what are you watching? What are they on right now?" I was like, "Oh, it's on YouTube."
Bro, put your coworker on. Put your coworker on. Bro, you're live on the internet, bro. You're
He's
like
so
a
cute.
podcaster now. You're a star, bro. Yeah. What do you think about the world? Do you trust in politics? Do you think capitalism's working? Are you happy with the relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein? What are your thoughts, bro? Yeah, that's exactly how we all feel.
True.
All right. Fair. All right. No, I mean, I think we said it, though, a second ago, because it's the common denominator is that people really do want to have a solve on child trafficking. It's like that's why it was a perfect honeypot, gaslight, whistleblow kind of scare tactic. You know what I mean? Ivan sounds like a troll, bro. I'm a troll. We're all trolling is a kind of fishing, and Christ told us to be fishers of men, and troll fishing is like the most effective way to fish. But yeah, I think that Trump's in his third term because he's been joking about running for a third term, which means this is his third term. He's talking about arresting Obama, which obviously you can't do because when you're the commander in chief, you can't break the law. It's called unitary executive power. Unitary executive power, which you can watch that movie Dick, where you learn about Dick Cheney. And unitary executive power means essentially that the president can't break a law because he's above the law. If the president does something that's against the law, he's literally doing something else. It's just the definition. So if, let's say the president steals something, well, he's not stealing, he's taking a tax. Or if the president lies, well, he's not lying, he's withholding information for the value of protecting the state. If he's, anything you think that is illegal, it's not illegal if you're the president. And Obama was the president. So he's not breaking the law. Nobody's breaking the law. And Donald Trump even, if Obama could be arrested, then Trump could have been arrested, which is kind of the thing. They wanted to arrest Trump. They really couldn't functionally do that. It's not like a legal precedent. You'd have to arrest him for doing something outside of office when he was no longer president. Right?
Yo, Andre, by the way, sorry, real quick. Did you ever see the movie Civil War? It came out very recently.
With the journalists in the middle of America?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course you fucked. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I mean, elaborate. Why was that so interesting to you? Why does that connect?
I mean, I think about that movie sometimes. Every time there's some serious trumping going on, where we talk about Trump's third term, and he's arresting Obama. I'm like, wow, it's like a powder keg of stuff.
There's a lot of weird stuff that happened during Biden's term. First off, when Biden was elected, he reneged on 17 executive orders in the first day. Right, his 17 executive orders just removed everything that Trump had done while he was in power. When Trump came back, he put himself back in power. And the other thing was when January 6th happened, there were the reserves there. There was all these agents standing there to make Trump look bad so they could push him out. But Biden ended up not having the U.S. Army flags and seals behind him during his inauguration. And when Trump was for president on the third term, he didn't put his hand on the Bible, which is a whole other thing. So this is all QAnon crap, whatever. But the idea that Trump was actually president during Biden's administration is really interesting to me. And that this is his, Biden was president, but really he was administrative with some group running over him, which everyone knew at the time. Everyone knew that Kamala Harris was calling a lot of the shots, or that Obama was in a tracksuit under the White House or something like that, just kind of telling him what to do and operating him a mouse in a giant robot suit, like Krang and Ninja Turtles or something.
Yeah.
So that for some reason, anyone, Democrats even, could accept that if it was Obama doing it. No one could accept the idea that Trump was running Biden's election. And that there's this whole, it's funny because 20 years ago, we had John Kerry and George Bush pretending to fight each other in the debates and then going to the same barbecues again because they're in the same Skull and Bones club that they've always been in since college. And no one thought that was weird. Obviously, we all knew that they were faking their animosity towards each other. Obviously, it was clear that they were
because they were old buddies in the weird sex cult for men.
Yeah, there's no question about that at the time. But why is it now that we put so much hope into there being a difference between the parties? What is the reason that that people could actually be shocked that Obama was working for Trump or that Trump is working for Clinton the way originally, Clinton asked Trump to run for president, right? And we all know this. Like Clinton said, "Hey, can you run as the foil against Hillary, my wife? Because I think it'll
It's
look
like
good."
WWF.
It's very interesting that the wrestling thing is I think the sync metaphor for politics right now. None of it seems any more real than it's ever been. I mean, it seems probably less real than ever before.
Yeah.
But maybe it's positive theatrics. Anyway, the final thing was just because you brought up the Epstein list disappearance, and the cremation of care started this year. I forget if it was on the 7th or the 15th, but it started basically within a week of the Epstein list disappearing from public, like the cremation of care, right? Like, so, Bilderberg, you've seen Alex Jones videos, the idea that there's a club in Sonoma, California, where rich folk go and they can't fight with each other for a week. So what they do is they burn a pig dressed as a child in effigy, right? So that it looks like a real kid, and they're supposed to do a human sacrifice, but it's a mock human sacrifice, all for the purpose of no longer having to care about anything in the international world stage for a week, right? And this goes on every year, and this just happened right at the same time as we are going to stop caring about the Epstein list.
Does Trump go to Bohemian Grove?
I don't think so, but maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if we'll look it up. I assume he doesn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone ever.
This kind of makes me feel like in the previous century, how like even during the Great World Wars, all those leaders and noblemen fighting and like administrating the war, they all went to school with each other and shit. Like they all kind of had their own like aristocratic network of like a social club or interconnected social clubs. They're like, oh yeah, I know the guy who's like running that in Germany. I went to fucking boarding school with him in Switzerland or something. So that's kind of what it like reflects. It's just nowadays it's like much more embedded beneath layers of bureaucracy and commercial interests and corporate entities.
A 2016 leaked email from Colin Powell frequent attendees suggested that many Grove attendees viewed Trump as a disaster, quote unquote, and that most attendees would not support him, implying that he was not part of their circle. See, that's basically what everyone's banking on, is this idea that he's just not part of their circle and that he doesn't want to be, even though he's been basically Caddyshack. He's basically Caddyshack for the golf club. He runs the golf club that the rich people go to. That seems like his whole goal is to be accepted as part of the club.
Yeah. He's not, though. They don't like
no evidence. Yeah. No evidence that he's a member. Yeah, he's not, though. He's not. I mean, it doesn't seem like they treat him like he's part of the club. That's basically the thing.
I think to be of the club, it's like you probably have to have like lineages going way back to the point where it's like these are the entities that would make up, say, the Illuminati or secret societies in charge of like off-world technology and shit.
Well, Kurt, I mean, I know I cut you off about Epstein, but like, was that basically what you're trying to say about Epstein? Was that your vibe? That was your feel, basically, that it's the only thing that unites us all, that we want to save kids on both sides?
Generally speaking, yeah, but I think some people are like, there's definitely a huge authoritarian movement on both sides that are just like, well, we should just trust the state, they know what they're doing. And it's like, I think most people are definitely skeptical to that. I think if you took a poll, maybe the majority of people would be like, yeah, this is stupid. We should probably know what's going on. But yeah, it's not everybody. It's not everybody for sure. And I think the whole trust and authoritarianism is definitely creeping its way in on both sides. And that's not to say that the future is totally dire. I think it's just a product of the accelerationism of the acceleration of technological advancement is, I think it's making people afraid, and it's it's making people afraid, and I think that also coincides with our group decrease in intelligence over the past, couple decades. Yeah, it's that's not an insult. It's like people know, like, yeah, we're getting a little bit less smart. That's whatever the effect is called. Our IQ peaked probably in the early 2000s.
Domestication.
Yeah, we're definitely very domesticated. So there's a new world coming, folks. But I don't think it has to be a fearful one. I think in some ways it can be. It's just going to be scary as we transition into this new world. There's this huge
ontological shock.
Yeah,
dude, but like, I mean, there's a bunch of people that are. I mean, I think the average person wants to stop people from diddling kids, and like the blackmail that is P. Diddy, because he is a black
That's
male.
like Colin's take. He's like, I just want people, to stop being pedophiles.
I think that's a reasonable. It's a reasonable start for society. But Congress blocking Epstein list because my colleagues are compromised, says Representative Burchett. Mike Johnson wants to shut down the House for the summer to head off Democrats' call for votes that would call for greater transparency in the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. It does seem like there's a lot of people that do want to keep diddling kids, or do want to keep diddling kids safe for kid diddlers, right?
Yeah,
like
why would you want to block that vote? I don't get that.
I think come on. What are the most obvious reasons that you diddle kids, your friends diddle kids, someone who owns you diddles kids?
I think another good question is like, why is diddling kids such a widely used thing? And like the technical aspect of it is the fact that in every moral framework that you could possibly imagine, it's usually like that's the hard line for everyone is diddling kids. It's like
unless you were diddled as a kid. I think it's like the vampire movies. You know what I mean? Usually like you get diddled as a kid and then you keep spreading the diddle. And while you're diddling a kid, you can't, because probably I imagine you're traumatized. Maybe you're thinking about it all the time. At least when you're doing it, it's not happening to you. You know what I mean? Because you can see it happening outside of your body, so it's not happening to you. You're doing it to somebody else. I don't know. I haven't studied like the psychology of NAMBLA or whatever, but I think that there's something to be said for this happened at some point to most people that do it.
I mean, when they say things like making a deal with the devil, or they got my soul, I sold my soul, I think like one of those things, it's on a technical, again, on a purely like materialist level, it's basically doing something that is the most evil thing that you could have done, and you did that yourself. So that's something they have over you. Not only do you have that knowledge you did it, but they have proof that you did it. So you're like going to live the rest of your life, at least as far as society is concerned, as a broken person, literally on like a metaphysical leash your whole life of fear. And maybe that is the only way to control like actual billionaires or like media gods, like maybe that's.
But that's why they're built. I think also the reason a lot of these people are billionaires seems to be connected to it. Like you're part of the. I mean, first off, if we're talking about families, there's taboo families, right? I remember. Let me see, like Dominican hospital taboo family. I remember telling my mom years ago about the problems with Epstein. This must have been like 2015 or 14 or 12 even, because it's like pretty early on when it was kind of becoming more of an issue. Dominican hospital, Santa Cruz arrest, taboo family. Please let me have some sort of this guy. Okay. So my mom was like, you're completely crazy. There's no way that this is happening. There's no way Lincoln Park is like part of some weird Podesta conspiracy. And then there's no way that people are kidnapping kids at hospitals and working with nurses. I work in a hospital with as an OBGYN delivering babies. This couldn't happen. Then the week this happens, 2017, this is when they found this guy who was arrested, a brain surgeon at my mom's hospital, who was associated with the nurse, who were like kidnapping kids from the hospital, finding parents that wanted to abandon their kids at the hospital, and then also giving birth, like finding women to be part of giving birth to and raising children for what he was calling taboo families. Taboo families where they're essentially like raising predators, pedophiles. They're molesting these kids. They were molested themselves, creating this crazy human trafficking network of taboo families. And she was just kind of like screwed up. My mom was awestruck. She's like, how is this possible
Yeah.
that this could exist in our world? And it's happening in our own town. Like, well, no shit, bro. It happens everywhere. This is what the world's like. It's screwed up.
I just want to say, like, when you do take so much of this shit in, like the real darkness of like the upper echelons of power, and you're like diddling after diddling after diddling of children, you're just like, you get broken in a different way. And I think you get pushed to one or two places. I think one dangerous place is when you just end up like schizo black pilled. You're like, everyone's a diddler. I hate everyone. I hate humanity. Wipe everyone out. You're all going to hell. You're all going to burn in hell and stuff like that. Or you could just be like, you know what? I give up. I give up everything. I surrender. God, take me. And then that's like the good outcome. And I think like that's going to happen to more and more people as we accelerate, as Kurt said.
Maybe because like it seems like there's more and more growth of maybe there's like groups of people, like these taboo families are clearly breeding. There's definitely people that are, the same way that people are worried about being outbred. I don't know if that's what Ivan was referring to earlier, if like you're losing the breeding wars or something like that. But it's not just ethnic breeding. It's like ideological breeding. If people are breeding kids to be Christians or Muslims or Jews or atheists or Satanists or taboo families, then you have to see who's going to break. If you're doing that, you've got like a rich person who has 36 kids from 36 women in 36 states, and they're all part of some weird predator world system. That's going to affect the world a lot quicker than people realize. Within a generation or two, they all have thousands of kids, and they might outbeat the Amish. So,
well, that's a pretty crazy like thread, but I'm just saying, like, if there's one thing we should do about like all the crazy diddler billionaires and all that stuff, is we should keep talking about it, honestly. Like, as a collective society of non-diddlers, like, we should probably keep like at least just talking about it openly and say like, yeah, this is happening. And if as long as you give people the opportunity to know, then maybe hopefully that's enough.
Dude, Amish populations are doing pretty good. That's pretty cool. You see that the Mormons are breeding hard, the Amish are breeding hard. Pretty soon there's going to be mostly Amish in the East. I could see it happening. Just replacing the cities with Amish. That'd be pretty based. It's coming by 2100. Like, most people are going to either quit breeding or be replaced, and it's all about whether or not you raise your kids or not. I mean, if you keep your kids safe from that world, maybe that world will stop creating itself to some extent, but clearly there's legislation trying to keep that world existing.
Basically, the hardcore secular materialist portions of the generation need to heal. They need to heal from like all the fucked up stuff they did in like capitalism and like just for the sake of social climbing and making money, gaining resources, trying not to have like not enough. And then once we could, if we could get past that, then maybe we'll be better off altogether, right?
Dude, but like, did you see Hunter Biden interview recently?
With who?
With the channel with the Andrew Callaghan guy. Callaghan, you didn't see this yet? Oh my God, bro! You know this man. You know this man is a genius.
3 hours. Who is this guy?
This guy, you don't know Andrew Callaghan, Channel 5, bro. This guy is one of the best. He's one of the best people ever. He has this channel.
How does he look like that?
I mean, I don't know how you want me to answer that question.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Basically, he does these amazing interviews. So this is his interview O Block, where he literally went to the O Block and he interviews these kids, and he just stands there with the microphone and he asks them questions, but very short ones. He's like, "So you guys live here?" And then they're like, "Yeah, man." And they go off for like an hour, about whatever's going on. And because he's kind of quiet and chill, they basically let him stay. He doesn't say very much, right? Like he's like, "I'm here in a housing development in Chicago. This is where Michelle Obama grew up. Let's like ask people what it's like here." And then they're just like, they really open up. They'll tell him anything, things that they won't tell other people. He goes to the Philly streets. He gets to learn about what's really going on with the.
So is he just a YouTuber, or does he work for a network?
He's his own. So originally, he's his own YouTuber. He went to school for journalism. He worked for something called Channel 5. They like kicked him off Channel 5, basically stole all of his work, and then they went bankrupt without him because he started his own Andrew Callaghan channel again when he left them, which was like it blew up because it wasn't about Channel 5. It was about Andrew. Like he's that good of a journalist. So eventually he bought back Channel 5. That's basically how that happened. And he's just so good. Like he just stands there and look, he just stands there. He doesn't have to say like anything. And he gets people to say everything. And so he just did this again with Hunter Biden. I don't know if I can.
He got Hunter Biden to sit down with him for over 3 hours. Holy cow.
Dude, if you get Hunter Biden sitting down and talking, he will talk to you for 3 hours. That's the crazy thing about Hunter Biden. If you don't stop him from what he's talking about. Let's see if I can.
So much alcohol, almost a handle of vodka a day. And alcohol.
Yeah. White Claw.
It puts you in more danger than any other drug that I've ever experienced.
Dude, this is the craziest interview because you just know that Hunter Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. Like you kind of, we could have joked about this like 8 years ago. Like, come on, like he's a crackhead. And I said like, it could happen.
And then you add on top of that, the amount of crack that I was using at the time. And crack cocaine in terms of your physical health is not as dangerous as the situation that you put yourself in to be able to obtain it.
How do you get crack?
See, like that's all he has to say.
One of the things I don't want to do is give a how-to to.
He tells you he doesn't want to tell you, and then he goes on for the next 3 hours telling you how to get crack, like how to manufacture crack.
This is sick, dude.
Any more?
Oh, it's incredible. This is like honestly,
awesome.
like this is like most important.
I am fully aware when I'm talking about it in relationship to my own experience with it. It is still a shocking thing.
He just straight up tells you about like.
Or if you say cocaine, it comes with a whole bunch of different baggage, and because of that, places that you can go get it are some of the most dangerous places. And what
tells you how sexy it is to be a crackhead, and he tells you basically everything you need to know about how to make crack from cocaine and like who does crack cocaine, and he just talks smack on George Clooney and basically, and he even at some point he even says it. He's like,
I hated that Batman movie.
And straight up, he's like, and like that guy, who the hell is he to talk about my father like that? And you know what? If I were to run for president, like 2 years or 4 years or 8 years, you're like, bro, you literally are giving away the game plan. Because
I want to see Hunter Biden run against Barron and lose on his second term after it.
Well, I mean,
after his first term.
To be fair, the Democrats have like their game plan is like a guy with a brain disease who's brain damaged and a crackhead. Those are their two most salient stable geniuses that they have in the entire Democratic Party. So like it all kind of runs on Biden to be the president. And it seems like he's basically the American hero because if you want to suppress the Epstein list, if you're for diddling kids and you love crack cocaine, then who better than Hunter Biden to represent your people, right? Like he is if you're trying to suppress.
Oh, I know your logic.
Think about it. Okay. Think about it. That's basically what they're saying. Because if you're
the crackhead is the best mouthpiece for these people. Trust me.
I mean, because he represents like libertine freedom. He's a guy who did crack, and he's saying, you got to be careful about crack or something like that. But does he really want you to be careful about crack? Does he really? I think he wants to show you how cool he is that he got to do crack cocaine. Basically, I mean, he's a crackhead. Like crackheads are insane. That's perfect. It's the most American thing. And like, look at this. Well, I don't mind the crack. See, like America's already ready. They don't even care. That crack does not bother. Yeah, diddle his niece. Exactly. This is the thing.
Well, remember Rob Ford in Toronto. That was huge.
Is Andrew so dumb that he doesn't know what baking soda is? No, he's better at playing dumb than Joe Rogan. That's the point. Like Andrew's able to just stand there, ask questions. Like, how do you make crack? Is baking soda a big deal? Can you buy that stuff at the chemistry store? He's like, bro, you can get this at the 7-Eleven. Let me tell you how to make crack. I shouldn't tell you how to make crack. Here's how you do it. I don't want to talk to you about how euphoric crack is. Dude, crack's so euphoric. Here's why. And just 3 hours of him.
Did you watch the whole thing? Is it worth watching?
It's totally worth watching. It's absolutely worth watching.
If they run Hunter Biden against like a Republican black woman, that would be insane, honestly.
It could happen. It could be, what's her name? Candace Owen and Hunter, right? With Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes as the VP. I don't know if he's old enough. He probably has to just like be like the Elon Musk character.
Now we're like, how would the Democrats ever recover and gain their seat back? And then it's Hunter Biden against Candace Owens. You're like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
I mean, that's the future we're headed towards. Which is, I mean, the Republicans could use somebody like that because they need someone who goes full hard in the paint of conspiracies. The Marjorie Taylor Greene thing isn't enough. You know, I think it's Candace because she really plays this anti-Zionist. She's like such a. The thing about it is these all are controlled op people. Like Nick Fuentes getting his diddled by Destiny and that Catboy. To me, I mean, this is the most. These are your best. This is the best white supremacist, heterosexual, Christian right, advocate you can come up with. Look, come on, this is the most controlled op group that the whole group. They're all just like they're playing these parts that don't even fit. If you have any remembrance of what they used to be like a week ago.
To be fair, though, fascism is in any form like inherently a losing ideology. It's like the ideology you pick up when you're on the back foot. The only reason why the Germans made it work is because, well, they're Germans. Like they make everything.
Damn.
But everyone else who tried fascism, they were always just losers. Like Italy, for example. If the Italians were Germans, maybe they would have made it work too, but they didn't.
True. They can't get the trains to work. So what's the deal?
Yep.
Ironically, the game Destiny is full of catboys. Yeah, you got a point there. I don't know. Do you have any feelings about Hunter Biden? Isn't he kind of from your neck of the woods, Kurt?
Oh, Hunter. That would be. I don't know. We have we're certainly in an era of celebrity presidentialism. When's the last time we had a president that could rock a beard? Because yeah. There was just one time in which you could have a beard and be president because it wasn't totally superficial. Not that humanity hasn't been, superficial at basically every point in history, but I think to varying degrees. And now it's like it is so superficial that it's kind of a joke, to be honest. It's not that you shouldn't go out and vote. I don't know what the solution is. It's just like. It makes you feel like nothing really matters because people wanted a world in which nothing matters for whatever reason. But yeah, it's Hunter Biden. Yeah, he would certainly shave. That's for sure. He's had a beard at certain points, but I imagine he would most certainly shave. And
I feel like JD Vance is the only one who can run with a beard at this point, and he'd have to win for people to ever do it again. Like we might, and if JD Vance became president, then beards might be okay for,
Is he really that popular though? Like
JD Vance? I mean, I think if America was going better, he would be popular. Like people liked him until like a few months into the presidency. And at this point, America is just failing so hard and we're not doing any winning, and Trump keeps acting like a dementia fool when he speaks. I don't know if anyone am I the only one who gets to say that? Am I the only one who gets to say that Trump doesn't sound very salient anymore? Like he's an 80-year-old man who, they were talking about how screwed up Biden sounded, but really Trump's the same age as him. And is he really that coherent? I mean, he sounds like an old man right before he gets dementia. Like, what they're like. He's like, yeah, well, this guy, he was not doing what he was supposed to be doing. And, he wasn't playing right. And I don't like it, and then it's like I don't get that Trump is this chess master from when he speaks anymore.
I think on a personal level, like just hanging out with Trump, he would probably be a lot more tolerable if he drank. Because like just sitting there, like watching this sober guy talk the way he does, and then meanwhile I'd be like, all right, but can I have a drink? Like
right. And he's been doing that stuff where it's like he's painting his hand. I want to find that picture. You think Trump's a clone? That makes sense. Where's the thing right here? He's got this a lot of these pictures, and he's got these pictures of his hand. They're all painted, all weird, like this whole patch right there. It's kind of interesting. I've seen a few other pictures like that were even more strange. Ooh, I better be careful. You never know what could happen. But see, you can see he's got his hand painted, all that, like he's got this weird. He's painting his skin right there. Well, I don't know. It's just been noticing it more and more. Yeah, so I can't be like, oh, Trump is so much better than somebody else. Here, this one was the one that really, look at this one right here, dude. Look at that. You can see that discoloration right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Does that mean he's a clone, Aaron? Aaron says he's a clone now. Maybe he's a clone.
That it's just
An old man.
Coloration? Is it?
And he's just an old, yeah, he's got spray on. Isn't it just because he's an old man? He's got a bunch of like blemishes on his hand because he's an old man. Yeah, so he's old. So what? Well, just saying, because we're pretending to hate Biden because he was old, right? Like that was the big thing. Like, oh, creepy Joe is Sleepy Joe. Ha 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 ha.
No, we love
And now
Biden.
we've got this.
We love Joe Biden. His stories about corn pop at the pool. That shit was gold. We love
I have,
that.
hairy, I have hairy legs. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Actually, he was a lot more funny than I expected him to be. And he's constantly. Who was talking about this? He's constantly licking ice cream.
Yeah,
the ice cream thing seems like a metaphor for the Cold War thaw, right? Like I don't know, that might be a stretch there, but it feels like the other thing with Biden, Jill's wife, she wore a red dress on the election voting day, right?
we got
the red dress instead of the blue dress.
We got to go back to presidents that have killed people, okay, and not this drone strike shit. Like we need presidents that have seen the light leave the eyes of another man. Like.
Dick Cheney would be a great president. It's true. I think I hear you. I hear you very clearly. All right. I don't know.
What about like Alec Baldwin?
Alec Baldwin. Oh, that's violent. You guys ever read Gertie's Beelzebub Tales to his grandson?
Oh, no.
I mean, I'm not sure where I can go with this one, but I've just been re-listening to it for the first time in like 10 years. I think it's worth reading, and it's all about the devil, or Beelzebub rather, is talking to his grandson, who's basically Damien the Antichrist or something like that, explaining about the Gospels, explaining about the history of humanity, explaining about how the world was created when Theta crashed into the moon, and the Earth is the Atlantis origin point of humanity. I feel like this is a highly important book for people to read, because it's so common at this point that people are saying we need just nothing but the Bible, which they think of as this recitation of God's message, which is what the Quran is, by the way. Quran means recitation. And it's funny, a lot of these Protestant stands that think that the Bible is just a voicemail from God, because it's such Muslim thinking, isn't it? Isn't it interesting that they think they hate Muslims, but they just do exactly what the Muslims taught their people to do in the 15th century. They have not changed at all. They're just Protestant Janissaries descendants. But the people who run the world are clearly theosophic as hell, like literally and metaphorically. And they're studying all of these different occult schools, and particularly Gurdjieff and the Fourth Way seems pretty valuable. I mean, this idea that the world was made in sort of a collapse or a crash between two other worlds. Gurdjieff inspired you to shave your head and grow a mustache? Well, you know what? If it works for you, bro. I mean, some speculate it was based on the customs of what set of monks. Yeah, like whirling dervish. Hopefully you're a dude, because if you were a chick, that probably wouldn't look that good. But
I think the spirits and demons have been locked away for way too long, and now they're just coming back with a vengeance. Well, breaking apart the materialist veil.
Well, what did you do this week, Chris? What have you been up to? Oh, you gotta go get your tea. Go get your tea. Go get your tea. It's okay.
Yeah, tea's ready.
All right, Jordan, you've been up to some stuff this week. You were producing the new show with Sam Newsman.
Yeah, so I've been helping Sam Newsman produce the show. So I'll take this opportunity just to shout out to everyone. He's doing a vote-a-thon right now for best morning radio show in his district. So if you guys have a cell phone in your hand, text 127 to 804-430-5505. Again, that's 804-430-5505, and text 127, just like the number going across the screen there.
Sam the vote. Make Sam win. So can someone explain to me? I feel like maybe I just don't understand this world very well. I think we all know that that's true. I don't understand. Maybe I understand the world, but I don't understand people. Auntie Queenie, she's cool. She's doing it. Legit. We love you, Queenie. But why do people not love puppets? Is it just me? Because I love puppets, and I think Sam Newsman's great. Not all puppets. Like, I hate Anderson Cooper. But I think that Sam Newsman's he's like the most real news person, because they're all puppets. He's just the only one that'll level with you that he's a puppet. But I see some comments. I see some people that are like upset at Sam Newsman. They don't get puppetry. They don't understand what we're trying to do here. Do you have any thoughts on this? Like, how do you guys feel about puppets? How do you guys feel about Sam?
I don't mind puppets at all. I like puppets.
Sam's got a good attitude. I like it. No BS. He throws some nice jokes in there, some nice humor, and he's got his good commentary. Yeah, I enjoy it.
I mean, I identify with puppets. We're all ultimately puppets, or we're more specifically puppeteers tricked to think we're puppets.
Anything else just puppetism.
Yeah.
Puppets are probably more valid than like AI news people.
That's true for sure. I feel like right. I mean, I don't know. I believe in AI. I think AI has a good future, but AI trying to replace humans and puppets. I feel like puppets and humans got to stick together in these hard times. You know,
honestly, I to be honest, I found it kind of liberating. Like with more people utilizing like AI to like write shit for them and produce shit for them. It's like even if stuff you create that's like original and it isn't as good or isn't as polished as something machines could make or automate for you, like it still feels good. You know, there's a novelty behind the act. You know, like, hey, at least I fucking made this. You know, I didn't put this piece of wood through a machine to give me a chair. I just like carved it up a bit, nailed it together, and got myself a chair. And I don't know, there's something holistically satisfying about it. Yeah, that's what it is.
Jesus was a carpenter. Yeah. So what about Melissa? You said you don't want to be negative. Be negative. Do it. Like does that mean you're negative? Like it means that you are being negative, but you're withholding. Don't withhold. Explain. Yeah, it's Andreas. It's opposite day. Like explain to me what's the downside? What's the con here? What am I missing? Because I know I saw like one guy who I had to ask him like, did a puppet hurt you as a child? Like, why do you hate puppets so much? I don't know. Kurt, were you a big fan of Sesame Street? Did you ever like the puppets when you were a kid? Muppets, puppets, marionettes? Yeah.
I thought, I don't know. I felt like even as a kid, I felt like Sesame Street was just kind of overrated. You know?
Yeah, like propaganda though. At that point,
my favorite part was when the guy, there's this guy in an overcoat, and he says, "Hey, you want an 8?" You know, and he opened his jacket, and there's a bunch of 8s in there. That was pretty cool. But other than that, I don't know. It just wasn't a very, even like as a kid, it wasn't very stimulating to me. Like I thought like Mr. Rogers was a better show. Mr. Rogers, Steve Irwin, like, yeah, he is in a lot of memes, but I loved Steve Irwin as a kid. It's like watching that show was fun. And
Mr. Rogers had a ton of puppets though. Mr. Rogers had a whole thing, right? Like he had like a little magical kingdom where they went, you know, like he had like a little world.
That was
it's like when you're dealing with child trauma victims, you have 2 puppets to play it out instead of like just directly asking them what happened.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, there was a whole thing there with these puppets that like make believe story or whatever. It's like thousands of episodes of Mr. Rogers doing voices for these puppets, man. I did not like this nearly as much as Sesame Street, by the way, but
I don't like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's all right. He's a little scary though.
Too British.
But like, yeah, exactly. Who needs the British? But Sesame Street, 1988 probably. If you ever seen like Sesame Street in the old days was pretty rough. You got this like methadone clinic, falafel thing, and then like Big Bird's clearly been molested. There was a whole thing with that where he had this imaginary friend that was touching him and he couldn't explain it to people and they didn't believe him and they just kept letting him get molested the whole time. There's a lot of weird stuff with that giant furry, long trunked friend, imaginary friend. Finally, they had to make Snuffleupagus real because he was supposed to be imaginary friend and he was the only one. Big Bird kept telling people that he could see this person that no one else could see, and they're like, "Sure, Big Bird, you're just making it up." And then eventually, like kids were being molested, and they thought that no one would believe them if they told because they would think it was just like Snuffleupagus, this imaginary friend. So they had to have this whole thing where they chase them down and they find Snuffleupagus. Yeah, there's crazy stuff in Sesame Street, man. And if you really go back, like 1969, Sesame Street 1969 had a black, Oscar the Grouch was black originally.
What? I mean, okay, let's see this. I want to see this. I want to see because now everyone's turning black. So I want to see some. I want to see some reverse.
First off, it's like there's clearly some weird gay stuff going on with these naked, There's
well,
no
Bert and
question.
Ernie, we know.
We all know they're gay. I'm almost afraid to show you parts of Sesame Street. That's how weird Sesame Street was in 1969. I don't know where I can go to find you. Let's see. If I just type in Oscar, he's kind of an orange brown, you know? Like, here you go. This is.
So he's brown. Okay.
He's brown. Yeah, he's definitely in Harlem, living in a trash can, though. Like, there's not a lot of question that he's essentially a black guy. And then that's kind of racist. Let's give him, let's make him green so that it doesn't make him seem so.
You know what we're gonna need though? This is important shit. All right, we're in the future when Gen Z and Gen Alpha become older, they're going to need adult puppet shows to teach them how to do normal people shit, like go on dates or how to act at a party or like how to like how to respect boundaries, emotional and physical. It's like I mean, that's a horrifying thought. Like where hipsters are gonna like be needed. They're gonna be in demand in society because they're the only ones who like kept up with like old social conventions like dating and stuff and meeting the parents.
Dude, I mean, really, modeling is important. I feel like modeling is very useful. And also because puppets are able to say stuff that other people can't say, like either because, Anderson Cooper says stuff that no one actually believes, but he's being paid to say, or the stuff that you're afraid to actually say, so you get a puppet to say it for you, right? Same thing, really. I mean, there's things that you just need other people to say for you. So you have a puppet that can say that. And I think puppets will say what other people won't. That's my pitch. That's why I like puppets. Some people hate them. I just don't get it. I want to understand where it comes from. I think a lot of people feel like they're being manipulated by puppets. Like, I think if you're a kid and you see a puppet show, you're like, look, I'm way too smart for this, old man. Stop messing with me. I'm a big kid. But they're missing the point that the big kid media is the same manipulation, just scaled. Right?
Wait, Andreas, would you be interested in this, like launching our own puppet show for adults where it just teaches you how to do like normal people shit in case you're so like so much
wash your penis.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan Peterson would have been way better if he was a fucking puppet. I swear. It's like just putting on a funny little voice. Might as well just go all the way. Why fake it with this human crap? No, stick a fucking puppet on his hand and make him go in front of a camera and play out the scenarios so he could do his little stuff.
Yeah, I think most people are puppets, but yeah, I think felt people are probably the master race. There's something nice about puppets. And Sam would probably definitely do a show about calling girls and how to call girls. I don't know how he's doing. I don't know if Sam's married, has little baby puppets of his own.
Well, I don't want to dive into like too objectively minded stuff like how to get a girl or how to get the hottest girl. No, it's like you're on a date and you don't know how to act. Well, this is how you act. Step 1, wash your penis.
Your penis.
Call her before 4 to confirm date. Call her after 12.
It's because I think we're like the last generation who have just been indoctrinated into that old world, like kind of, I'd say the contemporary dating model as we know it,
Yeah. What are some other things you think are important to train people on?
Driving, getting a driver's license, and maintaining your vehicle and taking care of your shit, like your home and your penis.
There's Sam now in the chat. Speak of the devil.
Dude, what's up, Sam? We were just talking about you, telling people to go to your phone number, call the number on the screen that we posted earlier. I have to go find it again. It was just up.
Yeah.
Where is it at? There we go. Yeah, you get to click on this 804-4305-505 and type in 127. That's how you support Sam. Sam is pretty based. I like Sam. Sam, we're saying we should do a puppet show where you basically train people to wash their penis and to fight a good fight and to be socially conscious on a date. I think that was the most important.
Imagine a puppet show. It's like, this is what you do when you're drowning in debt and upside down on your loans. Step 1, wash your penis. Step 2, don't panic.
I mean that in a Jordan Petersonian kind of way. We're not just saying you're gonna like Muppets scrub, use some soap. You could. We're not against that, but that's not exactly where we're going with that. If that's what you're wondering.
No, you're right. No, I wasn't speaking. Actually, maybe I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
literally.
still workshopping ideas. I don't
know. What do you think, Kurt? Are there any kind of important things that people need to know? Like, what are the lessons that you would have wanted to learn as a kid, and what lessons do you think kids need more than ever right now?
How to be brave. How to stand up to bullies like properly without making the situation worse. And bullies happen in adult life too, in the workplace, not just in school. sometimes at home. How to stand up to a bully.
What to do at a traffic stop?
What to do after a car accident.
We really need to drive home the idea of the negative consequences of industrialization. And how do you do that on the micro level? Well, a lot of reasons. So, like, bullying isn't just a human characteristic. I'm not promoting bullying, but this happens in other species. Like, it's how other species say, "Hey, get your shit in line, or you're going to get us all killed." Like, that happens. So if you bring a bunch of children into like an unmonitored environment, such as the public school system, it's going to go like insane. It's going to go deviate really far from like what its natural intent should be. It's like, well, we have nothing better to do, so we're just going to exacerbate this. And so the public school system is the direct cause of bullying, of any sort of bullying problem. So
let's think of an example like that where it actually works, though. Like when you get like just a group of kids and toss them together, obviously if you leave them to their own devices, they're going to start acting like animals. But if you force them to work together, which is probably abusive in its own right, like put them in situations where if you kids don't watch each other's backs, something very bad is going to happen to all of you. And that always works, like with any, I think, group, or in-group development,
Exactly. So it's like the whole anti-bullying campaign just like it isn't diagnosing the problem. It's just like it's really just like we're going to pretend like we're doing something about this when really and factually we're just going to keep the same broken system going. So I'm saying a lot of things. But like primarily it's like really we don't have any sort of community attachment in, I would say, the vast majority of our school systems. The fact that we consider it a system is detracting a little bit from our very humanity itself. And so I think it's like, someone in the comments said, teach children how to play outside. That's kind of what it is. That's kind of what the message is, touch grass, but it's not just like communicating that to children. It's really digesting that as a society. Like, okay, all of us need to get back to touching grass, feeling connected to nature, not being so doomer about everything. It's something that people need to hear, and it's questionable as to what degree we're actually going to engage in that over the coming decades. That kind of thing is necessary for survival. So I think, at some point, some generation is going to be like, oh, we have to do these things. That always happens, whether or not, empires dissolve or whatever. Because that could happen, the empire of the United States just dissolves over time, and then some other country becomes the world power, and becomes, the beacon of values and societal norms. That's what happens too. But yeah, there's so many directions you can go off of that. But that's what's important for kids. Touch some grass, kids.
Dude, I mean, it's funny that this generation, they kind of like took away grass for so long. Like so many of the kids right now are raised with masks over their faces, like in front of a Zoom call instead of going to school, and afraid that they're going to get sick if they touch anything. So touching grass is something that it's like the biggest fear for a lot of people.
Wild.
Yeah. We just need some new sports, to engage in. Or to engage in already existing great American sports.
Are sports that great? Because like sports are so team based. I like surfing because there's no teams.
So
you still have to deal with other. It's a sport, but you have to. It's different because you have to worry about being beat up by invading someone's turf. You have to be careful not to take someone else's wave. You have to, there's things like that, but you don't have to be on a team.
I do think though, even in individual freeform sports, like the higher levels you go, you're going to end up needing to rely on more people. Like you're going to need a coach, you're going to need a trainer, you're going to need a sponsor. That's basically your team. These people are relying on you to do your job, which is to perform and do your sport, even on an individual level. I've always liked that part, by the way, like the kind of like unseen team of like a race car driver or a professional surfer or something.
Yeah, but do you think teams are important? I mean, you're saying that we are going to experience it anyway, but if that's the case, then shouldn't people be part of teams? Or how valuable is the team approach? For me, it feels like you get like trapped in beta mentality because you have to work with other people. But maybe that's good because that's the reality for a lot of people is there is no escape and you're going to be pushed into a social hierarchy and not at the top. For a lot of people, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like admitting your willingness, because I'm kind of like independent to a fault. Like I've pushed people away just because for the simple reason I didn't want to rely on them. And I think that could be detrimental sometimes. Like I wouldn't advocate that all the time. But if that's who you are, if you're more keen on seeing what you could do on your own two legs with your own power, then exercise it. You know, I think everyone's got their limits, and a part of life is probably learning that limit, right?
Learning limits is hard. That's the thing. Should you learn limits or should you just basically, should you prepare people for limits that might not be there because it's a potential, there's like a tiny little potential chance that you could escape those limits? Or do you train people to accept limits so they can live as functionally as possible in the limits that you have? I mean, what's more real? Are you telling a kid in a wheelchair that they're never going to run again, you know, so you should learn how to do something in that wheelchair? Or are you making it impossible for them to realize there's some escape to that? Because I don't know. To me, it's hard.
I mean, I don't mean to be a broken fucking record here, but it sounds like on either possibility, like you're gonna need to be thankful no matter what you do, whether you decide to work with a team or whether you decide to just like huck it alone. You have to be thankful for your shit to be able to value it, to be able to take care of it. And I think that's like probably the cure, you know, or the.
Can you be grateful and also unsatisfied? Because like if you're satisfied, does that mean you're gonna stop trying to find, you know?
I mean, can you be satisfied without being grateful? Basically, like,
yeah, but can you be? If you're grateful, can you still be unsatisfied? Because I feel like being unsatisfied is at least as important as being grateful. I don't know, maybe not, but is being unsatisfied as important as being ungrateful or being grateful?
I don't think gratitude says much to your propensity to get more, to acquire more, or speak to your greed or avarice. I think it speaks more to like your ability to cherish and take care of what you have. So in the event of, say, almost losing it, like you won't, or even if you do lose it, you won't feel like in the end like, oh shit, I wish I got to appreciate it more while I had it. If you knew you were thankful for it while you were like had it every single day, it would sting a lot less. Same goes for life. Like if you live every day with gratitude on your deathbed, you'll probably be a lot less in emotional turmoil because you would know you lived your shit to the fullest. Like you were like, I was thankful for every day I was on this earth. At the end of the day, what more could I have done, you know? Because no matter what, like, no matter how much you get, you still die like the rest of us, you know? You can't take that shit with you.
Teams start trauma bonding their childhood experiences. This is a Kurt one, actually, again. Because Kurt, you've talked about this before. Because it's not like so abstract, Kurt. Kurt actually grew up in the real world. You know, you went to a high school in like real America with sports and ritualistic abuse, right? Like, because they all traumatize each other. We've all seen it in the news. Pine cones shoved up the orifices of frat buddies and whips and wet towels in the showers and all sorts of weird homoerotic, homophobic, homo sapien activities. What do you think about teams? What do you think about Stockholm syndrome and teams, Kurt?
Oh, a lot to say there. I grew up near a very prominent university that continuously gets into hazing scandals all the time. One kid died at one point, and the university has gone. Okay, it's Penn State, so it's gone through a lot of. I don't
want to say which school it is, but it's Penn State. Right.
Yeah, I grew up near there, and it really just gave me kind of disdain for the whole university system because there really is no culture. There's no culture whatsoever because it's a school around no real like other attractions, natural attractions. Like it's kind of in the middle of the mountains somewhere. I feel like so much energy is just like placed into football. It's like people need to. Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, philosophically, we've stopped worshiping God, so we've started worshiping things like politics and sports. And it seems like really really comical in a way. You know, the more you observe it, you're just like, you know, if you're going to put your energy into something stupid, you know, like why not just go to church, right? You know, it's like you can think that, you know, church is stupid. That's fine in your brain, but it's like if you're just going to say, oh, that idea is stupid, and then replace all of these ritualistic things with the consumerist alternative, it seemed to me, it seems even more stupid. And I really think the whole once sports, there's nothing wrong with performing sports as a person, you know, that keeps you healthy, it keeps you engaged. But like, as far as like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people drawing all their attention, you know, onto 50 players on the field, I feel like that process has actively made everyone in the entire county just like more stupid. Like, like they cannot think for themselves. And now it's
ball.
like, yeah, sports ball. That's literally what it is. You know, go football team. And now it's made everyone so devoid of thought that you go back, you rewind to like the year 2020 when you have all this BS going on, and the university itself, Penn State, was very left leaning. A lot of universities were very left leaning on the topic. You know, go get your booster shot, whatever. Go get your booster shot, stay at home, and they of course were one of the universities.
Do it for the team,
yeah. Do it for the team, and then while you know we're going through
Let
another COVID surge, we're going to open up our 100,000 capacity super spreader stadium. Wow, you know, during the peak, one of the peaks of the pandemic, they opened it up because why? Well, it's like it turns out like they don't have any real beliefs. It's all about, you know, keeping the system going. There were no principles, and I have no problem just like defeating people's dreams. You know, it's like I have people close to me that work for the university, and they know my stance on it. They don't hate me for it because they kind of implicitly know it's true. They're just going to get a paycheck. They're getting their needs met, and I have no problem with that. But there is something wrong with the system.
Maybe we should look at teamwork as like having a fire hydrant in your facility. You know, teamwork functions best as a solution to a problem, much like all traditions, right? So when you actually have like a problem to solve, and we probably have better chances of solving it through teamwork, you break that fucking glass. And once the problem is settled, it's like, all right, I'm gonna go fuck off and do my own thing again. Peace, guys. Call me when the next bad thing happens. You know, like I'll do what I can to help. Maybe it shouldn't be our default. Maybe Andreas is right. Maybe our default should be just radical individualism. You know, we should all try to manifest our own realities and let.
Maybe we shouldn't all have like an all thing. That's the other thing. It's like, should we always be trying to be one thing? Should everybody is a caste system maybe better? I don't know if caste system is the answer either. But if everyone does the same thing, doesn't that make it less valuable? I mean, don't you want to have some people that are good at math, some people that are good at literature? Maybe everyone should be a Renaissance man or woman or be
yes. I mean, we have the means to do that, right? Like, that's really what it's coming to. If we have the tools, like, instead of trying to control shit, why don't you try to seek radical self-control, become some, like, Ubermensch, or become some knight of faith?
But can everyone be because I think I like the idea of being a shallow and broad educated person. You know, I think it's cool. I can be autistically deep in way too many things, but a lot of people can't. And so they're really good at being narrow intelligences. There's some people that don't know anything about anything that's going on in the world, and they don't know much about books, but they know everything about nanotechnology, or they know everything about this particular process for some lab equipment, you know, and that maybe that's, I don't know. Is that not valuable?
You're speaking to something great, because you basically say I care about all these things, but what's the meta? Like, what's the meta thing? And one of the metas is psychology. Like, if you learn psychology or mentalism and you learn how your mind works and you master that, well, then doesn't learning everything become exponentially easier? It's like having a character build at an RPG where your boost is your experience. If you're able to like get that quality where I'm just a fast learner, I'll pick it up, because you look at things just a certain way where you could break it down into systems, frameworks, ideas.
Then why do surgeons take 8 years to go to school? Like, why are certain things so important that they focus on nothing for 8 years except for this one thing? Is it really that it's that difficult and that it's something that takes so much time? Is it not? Is it just a joke? Are they just screwing with people so that there's not that many doctors? Like,
can I do it myself at my house? Like,
Yeah, that's the question. Because
Yeah.
I think that they make it illegal for you to practice law on your own. They make it illegal for you to have to act like a doctor and to cut up your friends and to remove organs and to give heart transplants. So the licensing to me says that being a jack of all trades and a master of none is only good for a small fraction of the population. And that some people legitimately do need to be trapped in some sort of something
No.
that's
Okay. We got
yeah,
you.
they
No,
didn't
you
like that
froze
at
for a
all.
second. No, you froze for a second.
YouTube's like, don't tell people that. No,
Don't
but like
tell
the
them
idea, but the idea that you could be an ant in an ant colony might be a fraction of the society. Like maybe a bigger percentage of the society needs to be in an ant colony. You know, like maybe 10% of society can be experimental and unite different groups and masses that know how to do things. But you're going to need different demographics of people that know how to do things. Is that not true anymore? Has AI really
I think
surpassed that?
I think that's totally true. Like what you're saying, we need specialists, versus the generalists too. Like no matter what. But I think it's also like just
What
how,
ratio?
like which side dominated the economy more? Was it the specialists or was it the generalists? And maybe at one time it was probably more the specialists because we didn't have such sophisticated technology and automation to be able to perform surgery, flip burgers, deliver shit.
Yeah.
We needed manpower for that. And it's becoming less like that where you still need specialists, but there's less reason to go and as a kid say, I want to make a lot of money. I want to be successful. I want to go and be a surgeon. Like maybe that's just going to change.
Dude, someone just posted in The Lord of the Flies, it all goes wrong because Piggy is a glutton who needs to share to be bullied. Did you know that The Lord of the Flies is actually based on a Mormon group of kids that actually got lost in, I think, off the coast of Polynesia somewhere near Australia or something like that?
Did they make it?
Damn, I thought it was based
Yeah.
off that Simpson episode.
Right, for real. No, there's a pretty good Ward Radio. They talk about this. These Malaysian or Samoan looking kids, and basically they were all Mormons. They all got off the boat. They got stuck on this island for over a year. I think for like 13 months. And get this, they didn't kill everybody. They didn't starve to death. They actually had like a surplus of food. They ended up writing Mormon hymns, which are
God
baller.
provides. God
Yeah,
provides.
straight up. And they prayed with each other every day. And
Yeah.
finally, like a year and a half later, some dude shows up on the island. There's just a bunch of naked Malaysian Mormon kids that are all praying together. And then they radio for help. They're like, are these kids like marooned like thieves or something? And they're like, no, dude, we found them. There were funerals held for these kids. They totally thought these kids were dead. And, they were celebrating their return. But then they wanted to arrest the kids because the boat that they were on got lost. So the guy claimed that his boat was stolen. And so they had to like pay to replace the boat that crashed, that these kids got lost on the boat to get them out of jail. Sucks sometimes to be Mormon, dude. Like sucks anytime you're like a real Christian, like like a martyr, they end up like throwing you in jail. That seems like the traditional thing. But
I've also always liked
point is,
that.
it didn't go the way the book went. The book is like, oh man, you know what happens in nature? A bunch of people get all screwed up, and these kids like they have no. It's ironic because it went exactly the opposite way. They ended up working together, following their beliefs, becoming even more strengthened in their ideologies and religious pursuits of God. They worked together to like be grateful. Like their gratitude thing is off the charts. Like they wrote songs praising God, who put them in this like miserable, because if you think about it, like who do you blame for this if you're a religious person?
I mean, come on, you got to admit this is probably like the most special part. And also it's kind of weird too, because it's probably culturally damaging, but we all love those stories where it's like kids against the adults. It's like, we don't trust the adults. These adults are just like exploitative. They want to fuck with us. They want to murder us. So it's like us kids have to band together, and we're closer to God anyway. So we're always going to win. And they're always like the plucky heroes of the story, the kids against the corrupt adults. And the Japanese were all about that too. But I should say, like, it's also kind of damaging because you can't really have like a society where like adults and children have like constant animosity towards each other.
Dude, yeah, schoolboys marooned. Here's what they ended up looking at. Like how based. Wait, is this real or is this the picture of the kid? Is this them? No, this is from the movie. Yeah, okay. I was like, those are all white kids. They don't look like Tongans. Yeah.
That's the original movie.
And then here's the crew survivors. Yeah. So the survivors right around that time. So the book is coming out talking about this thing, trying to make it sound insane. And instead it was like these hardcore Ubermensch Tongans. Tongans are clearly the master race. I don't know. They're like these awesome Polynesian kids, insanely crazy. And like, how wild is that? Like in the thousands of miles from anything else, they go, where is it? Like up here? I think this is it. Okay, so like here's Tonga, you know, and then I think it's like up here, right? So how crazy, you can't even see it. Like how freaking insane lucky is that to
Yeah,
end
that's
up,
wild. That's wild.
They got
dude.
to eat sushi, sashimi, calamari.
Did you see that picture of the kid? He's like eating a fish like right off of the, you know, he's like eating the fish right off the fish.
body, right off the
Yeah.
yeah.
That's like the most swole picture possible.
Look at
That
his
is the-
muscles too. Like he
dude,
looks.
yeah. That's the most Chad possible thing you could end up doing. Yeah. I mean, pretty base, I think, but it just kind of disproves that whole idea. The idea that humans are necessarily going to end up in utter chaos and society collapses. It seems like it's the exact opposite, right? Like it seems like society is weakening people, and then left to their own devices, they might thrive.
I asked my dad, I was like, what do you think could ever be done to like fix racism in the world? He's like, well, son, you need a generation of kids that are just completely isolated from all points of society and raised like in confinement. And then when they're adults, release them back into the world. That's it.
Isn't that literally the Amish, Kurt? What do you think? Is that true? Like you have to isolate these people from society and then something good will happen when they're let back in?
I would like to take a different approach to just
All right.
in general.
Let them cook.
It's like what is the net cost of having a society in general? Why did we develop why do we develop the ability to walk upright, have thumbs, build some buildings, and be protected from nature, right? That's the idea. We're protected from nature.
Do this. It's cool.
Do this so we could light our lighters and smoke our cigarettes.
So we could oppose society with our opposable thumbs.
Right. The whole idea of society is to maybe ensure our collective chance of survival, right? You know, we want humanity to thrive. We want our gene pool to expand. That's the purpose of society. But the trade-off is like, well, having a society protects you from danger, and if you're too far from danger, you feel disconnected from reality. Philosophically, I think that's entirely true. It's like that's why that's the whole point of movies like Fight Club, right? It's like these. I think Chris shared a meme. It was like, "Oh no, I have a really stable and high-paying job.
I'm going insane."
Yeah, but there is. I think all of us acknowledge there is an element of truth to that. It's like, well, if things are too good, like, well, I don't have any problems. Like, how do I know that reality is real? And I think, that's that also. I'm probably saying too much, but. I think that explains the problem of evil too, right? Like wouldn't just a perfect world without sin? Well, it's like spiritually impossible. I think that's the one way in which like God can't do opposite things. That's the only thing that he can't do. He can't create things that couldn't coexist, right? So he's bound by his own laws of creation. But that's also why evil exists. It's like, okay, evil, free will. Have one or the other. Well, I mean, if you're going to have one, you have to have the other. So it's like, do you really not want to have free will? Is that what a lot of people are?
You have to give up. I think you have to give up free will eventually. Like when you have too much abundance and you don't give up free will, you might end up like self-destructing. Whereas if you have abundance, like if you're rich and then you say, well, I'm going to start giving it all into God now, like I'm going to start living for God, I think you'll be all right.
Right. And so there definitely is an argument to be had. And now I have a bunch of friends. I've been disconnected from my college friends for over a decade. So that's when people are starting to get their first divorces, even for, like a Christian school. It's weird how people's lives change. But I have other buddies that are doing stuff like starting charities. And it's like it's interesting to see them go through these changes. And there certainly is very much a real world argument that you can factually see is like, at some point, like, why do you give away your own resources and money to charity? And it's like, it's not just because it ends up making you more powerful, and it makes you more spiritually powerful in a way. It's like it helps you keep your sanity, because it's like, well, you shouldn't control. You should acknowledge that none of us are totally in real control, and doing the whole thing of like tithing. That's what it does.
It's really and it's also your energy. It's like where your energy goes. I forgot who said this, but they gave a good ratio. They were like, give 51% of your energy to others, 49% you could devote it all to yourself. All God really wants is that extra 1% on that other side, and then you'll be okay in life. Like bad shit based on your decision won't happen to you. I thought that was like a fair estimate, because that extra 1% makes it so it's like, well, at least I'm not entirely altruistic,
Yeah. And all right, I'll keep it going. All right, Jesus, I think, was very anti-materialist. The whole idea of saying, okay, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. I think they were using fiat currency at the time, so it actually was worthless, just like our own current dollar. But it's like if you go into a system of exchange like that, well, it definitely money does. In and of itself does detach you from society, at least to some degree, and so like you shouldn't really hold on so tightly to it. And I think if you're into the whole Jesus philosophy, I think Jesus would say you shouldn't revolt over taxes, especially if what they're taxing.
Kurt, let's talk brass tacks. How much? Like, what percentage of your income do you think is good to give to God, to give to others, give to the cause? Like, if you're gonna do tithing or if you're gonna do charity, how much? What do you think is a good number? Because I got a number.
It all depends on your life situation. For me,
10%, no matter what you make, 10% is a good number. Like if you make, whether you make 100K a year, 30K a year, give 10% of it to God.
Okay, so initially I was going to say if you have
others.
debt, if you have any kind of debt, then 10% is a good number. If you don't have,
if you're in debt, that is your God. So give them the 10% first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, if you go on to like some, financial podcasters and you listen to the ones that actually know what they're talking about, then yeah, they'll say super boring stuff, but it's the most, yeah. Debt is your God. Get out of debt aside from your mortgage. Like mortgages are a little bit different.
Give them your tithing money.
Abram gives 10% to Melchizedek in Genesis 14.
Yeah, so it's religious. Sorry, continue.
Beyond that, let's say you're completely free of debt. Well, it's like we have a big consumerist society, and I'm not going to poo-poo on that consumerist society. It's just the world that we live in right now, and so you can decide to what degree you want to participate in that consumerist society. I don't think it's necessarily a revolt if you choose not to participate. It's just like, well, now it's like I just want to pay my rents and maybe have healthcare, and then I'll just give the rest of my money away. You can do that.
And science evidence fringe is like to God.
Okay, that's figurative,
Yeah, like sort of, because when Revelation, they bring up this idea that if you put 10% into making the world a better place, you're still doing exactly what Jesus said. You're still following the Christian thing. Like if you give it to the least of me, like to the homeless and to the poor or whatever, directly, like you're helping people. Let's say, you eat out 10, I don't know, basically a tenth as many of the times as you eat out, you go buy a homeless person some food, basically, right? Like 1 out of 10 times. That's technically helping God according to the Bible. It doesn't have to be. You could be doing this just because you're a decent person and you're trying to make the world a better place.
But the byproduct,
both are true. Yeah, both are true. And so it's kind of funny because I think I just showed this picture. People have been freaking out about Ozzy Osbourne, but Ozzy Osbourne was always wearing that cross. Sure, he did the bullskin ritual, and there's that kind of.
Can you talk about that a bit?
Which part? What do you want to say?
Bullskin ritual.
Well, yeah, Bullskin house is the Jimmy Page.
I looked up the house and everything.
Yeah, Aleister Crowley went to the house and he did this ritual in 1919, and then shortly after, people started seeing the Loch Ness Monster because he opened a portal by doing some weird, kind of butt stuff. Like there's some weird gay ritual where you have to literally have sex with a guy. He had sex with the guy, and he kept pulling the guy in and out of this satanic pentagram symbol in the house while chanting the name of this evil chaos archon of the devil, right? And doing like Egyptian chaos magic. So that's what Crowley did. And then Jimmy Page ended up buying the house and inviting famous rock stars there. And he was there at the house. And we don't know exactly if he did the Crowley ritual, but he does have that song, Mr. Crowley, right? Ozzy,
Yep.
Mr. Crowley. So it seems to suggest that he went through some crazy stuff involving the satanic British Thelemite scene. I know there's a lot of people out there that will say, hey, man, you know, I grew up in California in the Church of Satan. We just do beach cleanups. It's like, well, that's not, you know, like, I get that Anton LaVey Satanism isn't real Satanism. It's just cosplay for the reactionary youth with sophomoric ethics from your community college. Like, that's not what the real Satanism is. And Anton LaVey had nothing to do with Mr. Crowley. Aleister Crowley was doing actual satanic magic and did some pretty intense stuff. I'm not saying he's the most evil person that ever lived. Like, he had some really interesting qualities as well. But at the same time, he was doing some pretty terrible stuff sometimes, right? And at least at the end of his life, he was being arrested for doing horrible things in Italy involving children, which I've heard people try to argue for hours on this show that that it was all accusations that never happened. It doesn't really fit with the way Crowley's presented himself as someone who would do a lot of these horrible things. So I don't take too much credence to this idea that Crowley was actually just this misunderstood genius. You know, that doesn't really work with me. But the idea that Ozzy Osbourne became super famous after he went to the Boleskine house is famous among, it's notorious amongst conspiracy theorists, particularly like the evangelical Christians. Will talk about this idea that, you know, you have to do some weird satanic, probably homoerotic, fraternal ritual. I didn't mean to point to you, Chris, but, you know, I meant like, you know, because Kurt's talked about in football how in these frats at these colleges, they make them do these weird things, which are maybe not satanic. Maybe they're just Greek, you know, they're like Hellenist fraternal rituals that have been going on since the Mithra cult days of old. But this is the thing that ingratiates you into their club. And they often have that on you forever. Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, this whole idea that like there's the Limp Bizkit is the, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
That biscuit that's a bunch of the frat dudes, they all onto the biscuit.
Onto the biscuit.
Oh, okay.
And then the dude who's joining the frat has to pledge on the Limp Bizkit. Yeah. So there's all of these kinds of
a backroom hockey thing.
And there you go. See, there you go. A backroom hockey thing. In other words, it's happening in America. I'm saying it's happening in Canada. It's happening in America. It's happening everywhere. I know I'm being super throttled right now. I'm seeing it. It's like, it is what it is. You know, if you've noticed, they're just trying to stop me, but it's making me just want to say more things anyway. But they're definitely pushing people into these rituals, and it's to make you feel like you're part of the club, that you pledge, but also they own that on you forever, right? It's the same thing as Epstein. They've got this recording of you. That's what Epstein, to me, really, at the end of the day, it's not so much about what he did that was so unchristian, but what about what people did on that island that was so fraternal, like tying these men to this ritual club that makes them, it's an initiation rite. Yeah, basically. I feel that's basically what happened to Ozzy Osbourne. And, you know, he was a Christian kid. We talked about this on the other show the other night, that he was a Christian kid whose parents, you know, raised him to be a decent Christian kid. His real name is John Michael, right?
Ozzy Osbourne's real name?
Yeah, I think that's right. Ozzy Osbourne. John Michael. Yeah, John Michael Osbourne. Yeah. So named after St. John and St. Michael, you know?
Yeah, I think some biblical names can protect you from like the worst shit sometimes.
People have been arguing a lot about this idea, you know, claims to be Christian, even though he used a lot of satanic imagery. And they're all wondering about what that means. And I've been trying to say this for years, that there's a whole, like, it doesn't take a scholastic genius to know that John 3:16 says all you have to do is believe and recognize the slaughter of Christ for your own immortality, because that's what most of these Christians are doing. Most of the most famous Christians, especially the people that are pushing Christianity, are pushing this idea that you can get away with murder, metaphorically and literally, because Jesus is this blood sacrifice. And so that means you get away with anything, and you might as well rise to the top. You can worship Satan and worship Jesus. Only like 6 Protestants are still trying to argue that that's not what that means. They don't understand what repent means. They don't understand what believe means, but seems like a lot of the Satanists did. A lot of the Crowleys, magicians were working on the assumption that you could use the Christ atonement for your own forgiveness, so you could, maintain your soul, right? But Ozzy is a Christian. Yeah.
What if like just like how school has to kind of prepare you for the real world, where you make your own mistakes, walk your own incorrect paths if you're not careful, and make the wrong choices, or whatever. Maybe it's like that in the spirit world. Maybe it's like, you have to, once you outgrow your local community church, and then, like the safety of the walls is no longer appropriate to house you. And some people never outgrow it, fair, but other people who do, they could go down some really bad paths, because like there's no cradle there anymore to kind of keep them inside. So yeah, maybe when you get into the metaphysics, you got to be extra wary and careful, and use discernment. Don't be scared, but use discernment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's something that concerns me about it. Like the whole idea that it's okay to do evil and practice black magic so long as you use the atonement of Christ, to me just seems suspicious. It seems like a setup that's hard. Maybe that's all it takes. But to me, it seems like the more Occam's razor thing is that 99% of Christians are lied to, are lying by omission, don't understand that they're part of a false cult of Satanism that is only about Christ in effigy. They're using Christ's name, but they're doing the exact opposite of what he taught. Like we were talking about earlier with the Sadducee thing. They're just literally completely doing the exact opposite thing that Christ talked about. Like, for instance, I think somebody here posted about this earlier, and I was thinking about it, and it was a pretty good point, was the Essene Christians, right? So like all the cool Christians, all the real Christians are dead. So after Jesus died, there were a bunch of these little groups of Christians that were real Christians, and they were all murdered. Like the Orthodox and the Catholics murdered them. And you've probably seen on my channel at some point, we have that Skull and Bones church video, Christianity and Cannibalism. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's pretty interesting, where we talk about basically how Christians were murdered and they built churches out of their bones, and they essentially drank the blood of the early Christians in a Eucharist, saying that this is the body of Christ, because they were the co-heirs of Christ. And so they were drinking the blood of Christian. There was some really weird stuff going on with the early church, right? But the earliest church, they were members of like Jewish community that said, hey, yeah, the Sadducees were doing it wrong. We got to get back to the root movement. And the Essenes, they were vegetarians who refused to kill animals. They wouldn't kill animals for food or for money, for profit, or even for sacrifice. They wouldn't even sacrifice.
That's a great way to cleanse your chi.
Yeah, and they were all about the baptism. Jesus was all about baptism. John the Baptist was all about baptism. You don't need to sacrifice animals. You don't need to work with the Cohen priests who are sacrificing animals. You don't have to pay them. You just have to be clean and have a jubilee, kind of like a washing. And they're from Qumran, right? And Qumran is where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? And the Dead Sea Scrolls were written mostly. Let's see if we can find scrolls. There we go. The Dead Sea Scrolls were written mostly on, wouldn't you know it, hide, which doesn't make any sense at all. Because if you're not allowed to kill animals and you're writing the scrolls on goat skin and on cow skin, that doesn't make sense. That's not what they would do. It turns out most of their documents are written on papyrus, obviously, because they're vegetarians and they don't use hides, they don't kill animals, etc. They make clothes out of fabric. So half of the Dead Sea Scrolls are hidden in a bank vault in Switzerland, We don't know what all of the Dead Sea Scrolls actually say. It's been 30 years to 50 years of them kind of changing their tune about what it says and saying, well, we have this much of the scroll, and this definitely corroborates what the Bible says, blah, blah, blah. But really, it doesn't. And we don't have the whole scrolls because half of it's hidden. Like all of Genesis, the most original form of Genesis is hidden, for instance, in a Swiss bank vault. And it's all written on hide, which insinuates it's a forgery. Insinuates that some of the Dead Sea Scrolls are not even from the Essenes directly, right? So there's a lot of questions about what Christianity's evolved into. But for me, it's hard to believe that you're supposed to just murder people and you're going to be forgiven for that. Where Jesus didn't really say anything about blood atonement. He definitely didn't encourage it. I mean, even after Noah, you're supposed to stop blood atonement. And at this point, you're supposed to be baptism is the only thing. You're supposed to be focusing on repenting and start picking up their cross and living like Christ. So Christ is a model for how you're supposed to behave. And I don't see that as really the way anybody is at. I mean, maybe some of these Mormons, for sure, they're nice people. They don't fight. They're not rude like me. I think this is, for the most part, they're doing a better job emulating whatever that ideology of being like Christ is. But they're not thinking, a lot of people are thinking, hey, it doesn't matter how you behave because you could just use this blood magic. And to me, I think that's wrong. I think we're missing something huge there.
Well, I agree with you. I think a lot of it has to do with just the karmic baggage you build up in life. No matter how pure you try to be, you could try to live a pious life, but life circumstances happen. Maybe someone does something unforgivable to your loved one and you have no choice but to unleash wrath upon them,
Hunter Biden, not quite like Christ. Yeah, exactly. That's a good.
I don't
you
know.
have to unleash.
No, I'm not saying people should. I'm just saying it's once you if you live the natural course of life, or better yet, if you live this socially conditioned life, which is have kids, start a family, get a job, suddenly you have all this shit that could be used against your soul. It's if your children's safety get compromised, suddenly you're no longer acting like your soul. You're acting like your animal self. Suddenly if your job gets compromised, if you have fear in yourself, where it's what if I don't have enough money to feed my family and I have to do what I have to do, right? So I think, and it's not like they wanted to live that way. It's not like they wanted to end up so compromised. It's just, again, it's what's expected of us. And it turns out what's expected of us is to turn us into these highly compromised karmic beings that may be flush with resources materially, but our souls will be deeply compromised in many different ways, to the points where too many to count, where suddenly before you know it, you're 40 years old. It's what happened to me? I have no free will. It's all just material needs.
Make America Green Again says parchments can come from dead animals. You don't have to kill them. Right. They just tripped under this rope that pulled this rock and it fell on them. I had nothing to do with, I don't know. Seems kind of suspicious, bro. Generally, most of their scrolls are written on papyrus. So it just seems kind of off. But yeah, I don't know.
The historical bits are interesting. I'm sorry. I'm just I don't know a shit about the actual lies that have been fed in a theocratic institution.
It does seem like a lot of lies, though. That seems like the deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to feel about Ozzy Osbourne. So a lot of people are trying to say, hey, dude, this guy was definitely a Christian. And so what does that say about Christianity? If that's what a Christian is to you, I don't know. But then this one was good. One of these men warned you about Aleister Crowley, and the other one made him an icon. And they're clearly saying Ozzy warned you about Mr. Crowley, and that John Lennon made New Age Thelema mainstream. And I think at least that's true about John Lennon. John Lennon certainly promoted Tavistock Institute causes and pushed the Crowley agenda without ever having to say his name. It's actually way more brilliant and surreptitious. So there might be something to that for sure. They both have Lennon glasses, though.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're after 2 hours. Any closing thoughts, maybe? I don't know. Do you have a rant for us? Anybody?
Kurt's got one.
Kurt's got a rant. Look at him. Look at him. He's ready to rant.
Get that mic in there, Kurt. Let's hear it, boy.
Yeah, bro.
You get to pick what the rant is about. Go ahead. I have a couple topics. We can talk about GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh.
What about? I got a question. What would you say is the meaning of life?
Oh, the meaning of life is to be here,
Oh,
man.
that's boring.
It's what it is. Just be here.
42.
Just be here. And it's like if that prospect is like, well, that's not good enough, I'm suffering too much to believe that statement, then your meaning of life is to overcome that brick wall of suffering. And yeah. Life isn't supposed to be totally without suffering either, because that's, Vincent once said, life is a big, grand soul washing machine, and you just need a little bit of detergent of that suffering. That's the thing that can actually wash out your soul, if you know what you're doing. So I think that's what a lot of sages would say. It's like just chill. This is a window from one previous life into the next one. That's what the purpose is. It's like, this is just intermediary. This is all temporary. It's just there's a lot of words you could use, I guess. Not ones I'm prepared to speak off the top of my head, but yeah, it's just, this is the transitory realm, man. That's all it is. You're here for about 70, 80 years. That can be a mind-blowing experience, of course, but yeah, that's what the meaning is. That it's just right there. It's so fundamentally easy to see, and of course some people get offended over that statement. Like, no, it's not easy to see. I can't enjoy sunset. Well, I don't know. I think the positive part is, it's like, that's why you shouldn't do the whole toaster bathtub thing. It's like, well, because this is the transitory realm, you're just like accelerating that transitory realm, or at least that's how I view it. And it's like, well, if you want to experience the void, I don't think that's what you'll experience by accelerating that transitory realm. But putting things in as weird of terms as possible is what podcasting is for. So thank you all for coming out.
All right, but what about Yu-Gi-Oh?
Okay, GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh! I think is the best format of GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh! Is around the 2005 era, and it is rather complicated in order to get good at. Like you can't really solve the format. You can't solve games that have hidden information in it. So it's like we're still learning things about this game 25 years later. Kind of in a way like I really love Super Smash Brothers Melee, which is a great fighting game, and people are still like solving what that meta is like 24 years later. And there's something about the mechanics that are just so crisp and clean, and I would say if you're going to get into like Yu-Gi-Oh! Just for the nostalgia, get into GOAT format. There's a great community about it, and it's really inexpensive. Konami hates the fact that we're doing it because they want to peddle their new product. But the thing is, like, the game has always been inherently broken in a couple aspects. Like, there's no inherent restrictions on how many times you can summon per turn. So the more power creep gets into the game, the more it's just like modern is like unplayable. The only people that defend modern are like the 5 nerds that actually are really hardcore into it. And I was one of those nerds, and I'm just like, no, it's like there are numerous issues with this game. And if only 30% of the time that you're playing the game you're actually enjoying it, that means the game is bad. So the game probably hasn't been good in over 6 or 7 years, in my opinion. But yeah, if you like that slow like back and forth where you're like kind of mathing out what's going on, good format that I've been enjoying recently in my spare time. Some of my spare time. I got a hard copy of Cien Años de Soledad, which is it's helping me a lot. I'm trying not to be a self project. I'm trying not to talk too much, but it's been months since I've been here, so I'm going to talk too much. I do that, and I'm trying to lab out my next musical project too. I'm really dissecting every single second, and it's just taking me so long. I'm probably on song number 3 after 6 months, but yeah, it's going to sound completely different, and that's going to be cool.
That's important. I feel like you always want it to be your last, and it's just your next, and that every day is another day. And you should start just making a journal blog that just releases music. You basically should get on Twitch and make music every day, and people should watch you making music. maybe not every day, but pretty much every day. Like anytime you're like at least several times a week, there should be like 5 times a week, basically.
Yep.
You should be
So-
on Twitch making music.
I don't think that would work for me because people like right now my process is different. Of course, like I guess what you do if you do art, it just evolves over time. Right now, my process is like right now I'm about 2.5 minutes into a song that I'm working on, and like I really I listen to a segment of a song and I'm like, okay, something's missing here. And I could play it back 100 times and just listen to it until I figure out what's missing from the song. So literally, you'd just be watching me listen to me to the
That's
same
true.
song over
That
and
is
over
That'd be
again.
fun.
Or what's even funnier is like looking for the perfect snare, and it just sounds like.
That would work. I mean, I would watch that still. Brendan Urie did that for a while from Panic at the Disco, and it was still watchable. So, and he sucks. It'd be way cooler if it was you. All right, Jordan, what are you thinking about as we close this evening?
My mind's just blown that Yu-Gi-Oh is still kicking around. Is Digimon still a thing?
Yeah, kind of.
Wow, that's crazy.
So there's probably only a few thousand like active players that play GOAT format globally at this point. But there's the 2010 is called Edison. That has probably tens of thousands of players. Like it's more comparable to Magic the Gathering formats. So there's retro format players out there for sure. And the thing is, like, the more that card companies just break their card games, to try to turn a profit, the more people start getting into retro formats because the cards are just there. You just got to buy them; they're super cheap, and like they don't have to worry about a ban list dropping or the format rotating out. That's what's so nice and appealing about it. Where it's like a lot of people are just like, "Hey, Konami, we're done with your crap. We're just going to do our own thing and play the game how we want to." And there's really nothing they can do about that. Of course, they're a big corporation, so they try to impede people doing that. Kind of like how Nintendo tries to say, like, "Hey, you can't you can't play old games," but really you can because you bought it. That's kind of what happens. But I could talk a lot about that. But yeah, there's little micro communities out there for sure.
Cool. Interesting. Well, no, this was a great chat, guys. I had a great time.
Legit. Chris, close us out.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Kurt, for coming back. It's been a while, man.
Yeah,
Great to
Kurt,
see
great to see
y'all.
you, man. Great to see you.
Great to
Yo,
see you,
man.
Jordan.
You're all gentlemen and scholars. Thank you to the chat, as usual. And that's it.
Yeah, dude. And abracadabra to that pot card. To hell with it. These cards are trash. I hexed him. All right, Ivan. Until next time.